A knock at her door interrupted Yu Qingyin's thoughts. "Enter," she called as she tried to recompose herself. Unfortunately, she still mentally berated herself for letting thoughts of soda and noodles occupy such a prominent place in her mind. This was absurd. She was Yu Qingyin, emissary of the verdant sky pavilion, not some giddy child chasing after sweet treats. A young female disciple stepped inside and bowed respectfully. "Elder Yu, the pavilion master requests your presence in the main hall." Yu Qingyin's brow arched slightly. Her grandmother rarely summoned her so early in the day unless it was something truly urgent or something that personally amused the elder, of which neither of them seemed ideal at her current position. The summons also seemed incredibly timely, given how Yu Qingyin was barely putting up her composed demeanor in front of anyone in the pavilion since that odd place in Fanling City finally caught her attention. "That's not good." "Very well. I'll be there shortly," Yu Qingyin calmly answered as she smoothed her robes, attempting to banish the lingering thoughts of fizzy soda and instant noodles from her men. However, her hand unconsciously grazed the side of her spatial pouch, almost as if seeking confirmation that she hadn't left it inside. The subtle jingle of spirit stones clinking faintly made her clench her jaw. That damn place and those cursed goods had created a unique effect in her life, and she just needed an answer why and what made that place different that made her a very responsible envoy from one of the most influential forces in this realm act so foolishly. She was an emissary of the Verdant Sky Pavilion, for heaven's sake. Her priorities were diplomacy, strategy, and the balance of power, not whether the store had a buy-one-get-one deal on snacks today, or, at the very least, a new flavor for the instant noodles. With a final glance at the empty soda pack, its glossy red and blue surface seeming to mock her with its alien design, she strode out of her chamber, a renewed sense of purpose solidifying in her steps. Yes, she must stop thinking like a common consumer and act like an esteemed official that she truly is. That meant stopping all kinds of self-deprecating questions such as, will that shopkeeper offer a discount someday? Or should I just sell all my properties to buy more of the wares of that mystical place? What's more embarrassing is how those questions stemmed only because of two items that she had tried: the savory instant noodles and that particularly fizzy drink. They're almost like a bad drug, and she's more than aware of it. The corridors of the Verdant Sky Pavilion were already bustling with activity. Disciples hurried to their tasks, their green robes flowing like rippling leaves in a breeze. Some nodded respectfully as she passed, while others whispered among themselves, likely speculating on why she looked so stressed and preoccupied. Yu Qingyin chose to ignore all of them while trying to subtly put more thought into possible answers and future solutions to all kinds of issues she could create out of her latest purchases from the so-called divine convenience store. She decided she would come with a purpose instead of letting those curiosities lure her from her usual tasks. She is an esteemed member, after all. She should not let a store make her go weak in her knees. She should return with the same gait as the first time, offering that darn shopkeeper an enticing offer. Eventually, the main hall appeared in front of her. Light streamed through stained glass windows from up high, which cast multicolored patterns onto the polished jade floor. Yu Qingyin breathed in, taking in the almost calming and awe-inspiring architecture of the place in order to calm her emotions down. Verdant Sky Pavilion is a rich sect, so it's only natural that they pay attention to their main structures. Everything inside the hall exuded refinement and authority, as well as displaying its rich history in its meticulous designs. As she exhaled, Yu Qingyin's gaze focused in front of her on a certain elderly woman sitting near the center of the place. Her grandmother, the pavilion master. Her ornate chair that seemed to grow out of the floor itself made her presence appear more commanding despite her advanced age and calm posture. Her gaze was also focused on her direct descendant. Her silver hair was tied into an elaborate bun, and her sharp eyes sparkled with wisdom and a touch of mischief as though she had already seen through the activities of her granddaughter for the past 2 days, as well as the current state of mind of her appointed successor. It had amused the older woman very much upon learning those. Qingyan, the pavilion master greeted, her voice warm and airy. It's a clear contrast from the way she usually acted with the younger disciples, as well as those who held the seat as the council members of the pavilion. You've been busy. Yu Qingyan bowed deeply. Grandmother, you summoned me. Her tone was a picture of formality that the older woman seemingly ignored, prompting an amused laugh that almost echoed inside the massive room. Her grandmother never laughed like that unless there was something amusing, and the young emissary already knew she had become the source of her elder's amusement. Of course, my child, I'm always interested in your daily routines, especially now with new developments. The information I get from our sentinels has been quite enlightening, so to speak. The old woman leaned forward slightly, as though taunting a reaction from her. Normally, you should be busy scheming on how to get the most benefits in our current endeavors, but instead you seem to be locked in your chambers, clutching her head like an obsessed disciple who hasn't gotten to taste that particular flavor from their first love. Yu Qingyan winced inwardly at the barely hidden barb. Yes, her grandmother was fully aware. It's nothing of concern, grandmother, she said as she did her best to mask any frustration. Just a slight distraction from a new development that needed careful consideration. A distraction that requires multiple trips and spending your monthly stipend on a certain sparkling beverage that has you skipping dinner to make it through to your room and have a late-night craving. Was it? With a peal of jovial laughter, the old woman almost slapped the table in front of her as she perfectly narrated Yu Qingyan's current predicament. How interesting. I heard this distraction also offered what they called instant noodles. Do tell me if there's some other way for a quick and effortless late-night fix so that you won't stress yourself by skipping your needed meditation. The older woman leaned on her palm and stared intently at Yu Qingyan, who was on the verge of internal combustion. Before the younger woman could make an attempt to defend herself further with a more sensible excuse or explanation, she had a quick realization of something important. There was no use in doing so, as she had already been seen thoroughly. All she could do was succumb to her fate and hear the true intention of her grandmother for summoning her. Yu Qingyan forced a smile, doing her best to maintain her composure despite the knowing amusement sparkling in her grandmother's eyes. Indeed, grandmother, a new establishment has opened in Fanling City. It requires a thorough evaluation due to the unique nature of its goods. Unique, you say? Not simply irresistible. The pavilion master countered, her voice laced with playful sarcasm. Tell me, child, do these unique goods perhaps have a way of making our usually steadfast emissaries completely forget about diplomacy and duty, opting instead to ponder which particular item or snack they are about to buy? Yu Qingyan winced internally, recognizing that the situation was spiraling into a comedic, almost embarrassing exchange with her own elder. The store does possess a certain allure, grandmother. Its impact seems to be greater than I initially expected. She finally decided to accept that she might actually like her growing fascination with that particular store. Although not fully, since there's an element that doesn't make any sense. But at least she has already become self-aware of her unique state in contrast with the others in her pavilion. The pavilion master leaned back in her chair, her laughter finally fading as she scrutinized Yu Qingyan more thoroughly with an amused smile. Fascinating indeed. A store that can ensnare the attention of the Verdant Sky Pavilion's sharpest strategist and yet remain within her grasp. This is, without a doubt, an anomaly that merits our consideration. But still, is there something more that troubles you? You haven't even started scheming on how to establish that said place to have a contract with you. Yet, oh, if you only knew how I easily got rejected, Yu Qingyan inwardly thought. I am merely observing how its power can be applied, and if a small portion of its resources or effects are acquired by our pavilion, our own influence could reach a higher place within the realm. Yu Qingyin cringed at her poorly made explanation as her grandmother continued laughing at that pitiful attempt. Her reaction told everything. Yu Qingyin hadn't found a decent excuse at all. The pavilion master's sharp gaze lingered for a moment before she broke into a light-hearted hum that managed to create an echo in the large, well-designed room. All right, Qingyin, I've had my fun. It warms my old bones to see that you have found something else that piques your curiosity outside my teachings for all these years. Besides, her smile grew slightly as she continued with an intention that finally had Yu Qingyin slightly apprehensive. I was hoping you would show up already, so I didn't need to make our young members feel nervous. Did I interrupt something important? She tilted her head before turning her gaze outside, observing how the younger disciples were starting to go about their usual routines despite her unexpected encounter and delay. It seemed that for her they're all in their element, all except herself. Of course not. Now, tell me, granddaughter, you mentioned this place required careful consideration, didn't you? I believe so, grandmother. The old woman nodded, her eyes twinkling as she prompted Yu Qingyin to share everything else that troubled her that seemed insignificant, but slowly and surely was slowly taking over her thoughts and current way of being. She leaned in closer. Interesting. The pavilion master leaned back in her ornate chair. Her eyes suddenly twinkled. Well, I may need first-hand experience in order to confirm whether or not it is, as you say. May you accompany me to that store sometime this week? Yu Qingyin's composure cracked for a second as her lips parted in surprise. You wish to visit the Divine Convenience store yourself, grandmother? The pavilion master's grin widened, her sharp eyes twinkling with a mischievous glint. Why not? If this establishment is capable of captivating my granddaughter to the point of nearly forgetting her duties, I must see it for myself. Besides, it has been decades since I've indulged in anything as frivolous as snacks or fizzy drinks. Perhaps it's time to broaden my horizons. Yu Qingyin's mind ached. On one hand, having the pavilion master visit the store could lend credibility to her own fascination and possibly establish a stronger relationship with the shopkeeper. Her current dilemma of not having enough spirit stones to visit may also be solved. On the other hand, the idea of her esteemed grandmother walking into the Divine Convenience store, examining instant noodles or any other strange item within the store like a curious child, was almost too much to bear. Grandmother, while I respect your curiosity, the store is unconventional. It may not be to your taste, Yu Qingyin said carefully. Its wares and atmosphere may not align with your expectations. The pavilion master waved a dismissive hand. Nonsense. If it can intrigue you, it can intrigue me. Besides, I trust you to guide me through this experience. You are, after all, the expert on this peculiar establishment. Yu Qingyin felt her cheeks flush slightly. I wouldn't call myself an expert. Modesty doesn't suit you, Qingyin, her grandmother teased. Now, when shall we go? Today, perhaps. Today. Yu Qingyin's voice rose an octave before she quickly composed herself. Grandmother, surely you have more pressing matters to attend to. The pavilion master tilted her head, feigning deep thought. None come to mind. Unless you'd like me to summon the council and discuss the merits of fizzy beverages at length? Yu Qingyin sighed, realizing there was no escaping this. Very well, grandmother. I shall make the necessary preparations. Excellent. The pavilion master's smile softened as she stared at her fidgety granddaughter. Do not fret, Qingyin. I trust your judgment. If this store is truly as remarkable as you say, it may hold opportunities we cannot yet foresee. Yu Qingyin nodded as she felt her resolve hardening. I will ensure our visit is fruitful. The pavilion master chuckled again, her playful demeanor returning. And perhaps I'll get to try this heavenly dew soda for myself. It sounds invigorating. As her granddaughter exited the main hall, the pavilion master clapped her hand once, and another young woman appeared next to her. It was her personal assistant that she was keeping by her side. Jinger, you'll be coming with us. Go to our Verdant Skybank's vault and open my stash. It should have around 10,000 high-grade spirit stones, correct? Maybe we can buy that store ourselves, divine being or not. If they opened a store, resisting the allure of wealth will be difficult. Understood, master. The young woman bowed before disappearing again, her unwavering eyes devoid of surprise or greed, as if the stash she was tasked to procure wasn't an astronomical amount. Back at the Divine Convenience Store, Lin M.O. was busy rearranging the weapons rack for what felt like the 100th time. Lu Xiaoyu had insisted that the celestial wind saber should be displayed at an angle that captured its heroic glow, whatever she meant by it. "Boss, it's all about presentation," Lu Xiaoyu declared, stepping back to admire her handiwork. "The right angle can make or break a sale. If the sword doesn't sell today, I'm blaming your angles. Xiaoyu, let me tell you something." "What is it, boss?" "Fixating on one thing is not going to help you sell it. A glowing sword will catch the eye whether it's tilted heroically or lying flat like yesterday's snacks. Let's focus on not scaring off the customers with overly artistic vibes, okay?" Lu Xiaoyu pouted, crossing her arms. "Boss, you have no vision. This sword could be the centerpiece of the store. It's practically begging to be the poster child for the Divine Weapon Emporium." "Poster child? It's a sword, Xiaoyu. It doesn't have feelings," Lin M.O. retorted, placing the weapon back in a neutral position. "Now, unless you can convince it to glow brighter when someone walks by, we'll leave it like this. And do not forget, this place is not the Divine Weapon Emporium. It's the Divine Convenience Store. Emphasis on convenience." Lu Xiaoyu puffed up her cheeks, but as she digested his words, realization set in her eyes. "Got it, boss. We focus on providing convenience to our customers." "Great. Now go outside and check her surroundings. Tell me what you see." Lu Xiaoyu didn't need to be commanded twice. She immediately sprinted out to survey the surrounding area. She bounded out of the store like an overenthusiastic rabbit, leaving Lin M.O. to sigh in exasperation. He took a moment to glance around the store, mentally preparing himself for another day of balancing bizarre customers, divine inventory, and the ever-growing expectations of the system. Not even a minute later, the door chimed behind him. Lin M.O. turned to see Lu Xiaoyu peeking back inside. "Boss, you're not going to believe this," the enthusiastic assistant said, her voice barely containing her excitement. Lin M.O. narrowed his eyes, already sensing that he was bound to find something different from what he had experienced for the past 2 days. "What is it now? Did someone set up a rival store across the street?" "No, it's way better or worse, depending on how you look at it." Lu Xiaoyu darted back inside, gesturing wildly for him to follow. "Come see for yourself." Curiosity piqued, Lin M.O. followed her outside. The morning sun of the 9 heavens bathed the street in a warm glow. For a moment, everything seemed peaceful until his eyes landed on a procession making its way toward the store. "What the hell? That cultivator, he's truly quick at his work. Now, he's leading customers to our store." Leading the procession was Zhou Rui, the poisoned cultivator from yesterday, who, in exchange for letting him buy the detoxifying elixir for less than the suggested price, was tasked by him to spread the word about the store. Looking closely, the people he's leading wore the same crimson-colored robes as him, likely fellow sect members. Furthermore, given the effectiveness of the elixir, the man who already had 1 foot in the grave yesterday looked so healthy and jubilant as he seemingly preached about the greatness of the store to his peers. As someone noticed Lin M.O. and Lu Xiaoyu standing outside the store, they pointed them to Zhou Rui, whose attention immediately shifted to Lin M.O. and his little assistant. Activating a movement technique, Zhou Rui crossed the distance between them and instantly arrived before Lin M.O. Cupping his fist in front of him, Zhou Rui respectfully bowed to Lin M.O. "Benefactor, I have returned after spreading word of your miraculous store." "You?" Lin M.O. started. "I only tasked you to spread the word. How come you're here with a group of your fellow disciples?" Reporting to the benefactor, It is your grace that allowed this one to live another day. It is only right for a disciple of the Crimson Veil to repay the favor as quickly as I can. Boss, the Crimson Veil sect is known for its merciless reputation. These guys don't usually bow to anyone. Lu Xiaoyu whispered, her voice brimming with excitement and a healthy dose of caution. Lin Mo pinched the bridge of his nose, feeling a headache coming on. Why didn't you tell me that yesterday? He mumbled in Lu Xiaoyu's direction before shifting back to the man in front of him. Great. So not only did you spread the word, but you brought an entire sect's worth of trouble right to my doorstep. The Crimson Veil disciples arrived behind Zhou Rui, their eyes gleaming with curiosity at the peculiar store behind Lin Mo and Lu Xiaoyu. Zhou Rui straightened up, a look of genuine confusion crossing his face. Trouble? Benefactor, you misunderstand. My sect brothers and sisters simply wish to experience the wonders of your divine convenience store for themselves. I would never dream of causing you inconvenience. Do not worry. They brought enough and wouldn't ask to haggle for your price. Lu Xiaoyu stifled a laugh. Boss, he said it. He said the store name like a true customer. Lin Mo glared at her before turning back to Zhou Rui, his professional facade slipping into place. Fine. As long as they're paying customers and not here to cause problems, I suppose it's manageable. Welcome to our store. Zhou Rui beamed, clasping his fists again. Of course, the Crimson Veil sect prides itself on its integrity. We shall not bring dishonor to your esteemed establishment. Lin Mo raised an eyebrow, muttering under his breath. Integrity? Sure, that's exactly the word I'd use to describe a sect known for mercilessness. As Zhou Rui stepped aside, Lin Mo got his first good look at the group of Crimson Veil disciples now crowding the entrance to the store. They were a motley crew of cultivators, ranging from serious-looking warriors to a few who seemed entirely too excited about the glowing open sign hanging above the door. Xiaoyu, Lin Mo said in a low voice, get ready. This is either going to be our best sales day yet or an absolute disaster. On it, boss. Lu Xiaoyu saluted, her grin widening as she darted back inside to prepare. You're not lying, Senior Brother Zhou. This is unlike any other merchant house we've visited. One of the female disciples, who was the first to enter the store after Zhou Rui, exclaimed as she stopped before a shelf selling an artifact packed like a hairbrush with a mirror at its back. Through the system panel, Lin Mo could see what kind of item it was. Spirit Tress Comb, a spirit-grade artifact that enhances hair growth and luster. Guaranteed to repair even the most damaged strands, making your hair shine brighter than a celestial moon. Price, 30 spirit stones. Of course, the system even sells beauty products now. Lin Mo wryly smiled as she stared at that shelf containing other similar products, ranging from that comb to makeup that had been transformed into an artifact. Their packaging had a uniform brand, Xing Xing, which he suspected to be the name of another divine being from the divine pantheon. In any case, this is great too. I've cleared the first daily task, and it won't be impossible to clear the second one too. They look loaded enough to fork out 20 spirit stones each. The female disciple picked up the spirit tress comb. Although she couldn't try it out due to the packaging, she turned it over a few times, inspecting it thoroughly and carefully as though she were handling an ancient treasure. Senior Brother Zhou, you didn't tell us this store sold treasures for beauty as well as cultivation. What impeccable craftsmanship! Zhou Rui coughed, clearly unprepared for this level of enthusiasm. Junior Sister May, I wasn't aware. I was focused on more life-saving items yesterday. Oh, you're right. I apologize for being insensitive, Senior Brother. With an embarrassed smile, the female disciple gently put down a comb before moving away from their vision by hiding behind the tall shelf. Lin Mo couldn't help but inwardly shake his head at that sight, but he tried his best to maintain his customer service smile. Feel free to browse. We cater to all needs. Whether you're looking for life-saving elixirs or, apparently, hair care solutions. Taking that as Lin M.O. trying to save them from the awkwardness, the female disciple reappeared from behind a shelf, picked up the comb, and hurried to the counter. As shopkeeper, I'll take this. How much? Lin M.O. took the product and scanned it. 30 spirit stones, miss. Do you want me to pack it for you? Without hesitation, the female disciple shook her head and handed over the spirit stones. Why, yes, please. Lin M.O. put in a bag along with the receipt and handed it over to her. Thank you for your purchase. Enjoy your spirit tress comb. Sell expensive items worth 20 spirit stones, 1/5. The female disciple accepted the bag with both hands, clutching it like it was a priceless artifact. She bowed slightly before darting off to rejoin her group, her cheeks tinged with a faint pink. Zhou Rui watched her retreat before turning to Lin M.O. with another hint of gratitude on his face. Many thanks, benefactor. I didn't do anything. Go on. I believe you have spirit stones on you now. Feel free to browse our humble store. I will. Zhou Rui bowed once more before turning his attention back to the front. When an 11th red-robed cultivator entered the store, Lin M.O. was notified about the completion of one of the daily tasks. Attract new customers. October 10th completed. Now I wait for them to pick their wares. No matter how picky someone can be, their curiosity about new things will eventually outweigh their hesitation. Lin M.O. muttered to himself, glancing at the bustling store. The aura of harmony was doing its job, allowing the disciples of the supposedly merciless sect to browse peacefully. The crimson-veiled disciples moved from shelf to shelf, their eyes wide with curiosity. Some were marveling at the talismans and pills that had been packaged like a modern item. Others were debating over the array of drinks in the cooler. They couldn't decide which to pick between the Heavenly Dew soda and the newly added Frosty Lotus brew. One particularly stoic cultivator was intently studying a pack of instant noodles as if it held the secrets of the universe. He then shook it as though trying to get a feel of its contents. Boss, look at that guy, Lu Xiaoyu whispered, pointing to the noodle-staring cultivator. He's been holding that pack for 5 minutes. Do you think he's trying to absorb its spiritual energy? Lin M.O. chuckled, as if, can you feel the spiritual energy leak out from those packaging? More likely, he's trying to figure out if it's worth 1 spirit stone. Go help him before he has an existential crisis. Lu Xiaoyu skipped over, her cheery demeanor breaking the man's trance. Hi there. Need help deciding? That's our heavenly spicy noodles. Perfect for late-night cultivation sessions. Plus, it comes with a free packet of chili flakes for that extra kick. The cultivator blinked, then nodded slowly. I'll take it, but do I need a cauldron to prepare it? Lu Xiaoyu burst into laughter before pointing him to the corner where the kettle and bowls were located. No cauldron required. Just add hot water. It's as easy as cultivating your first meridian. You can also eat that in our store. Please follow me. The man's eyes lit up with relief as he followed Xiaoyu. Thank you. This is truly a store of convenience. Lin M.O. shook his head. One more satisfied customer. Time seemed to pass as more and more crimson-veiled disciples moved to the counter, checking out what they picked. While not everyone could easily part with their hard-earned spirit stones, the number of transactions that exceeded 20 spirit stones was gradually filled. Meanwhile, Zhou Rui, who moved away to start browsing, eventually returned close to the store entrance, inspecting the weapons rack that Xiaoyu put there. His gaze fell on the celestial wind saber, its faint glow reflecting in his eyes. Benefactor, he called, gesturing to the sword. This weapon, it's extraordinary. Is the price listed here true? Lin M.O. approached, maintaining his professional tone. MHM, that's the celestial wind saber. It is a one-of-a-kind, spirit-grade weapon capable of slicing through low-tier magical defenses. The price is 80 spirit stones. Zhou Rui nodded. A fair price for such a fine weapon. I lost my weapon during my previous mission. I will take it, Lin Mo smirked, ringing up the sale. Thank you for your purchase. May it serve you well. Zhou Rue handed over a pouch of spirit stones, his respect for Lin Mo evident. It will. This blade will be a testament to the quality of your store. As Zhou Rue sheathed the saber and rejoined the other disciples outside, who finished buying from the store, Lin Mo checked the system panel. Sell expensive items worth 20 spirit stones and above. May 5th completed. Lu Xiaoyu's jaw dropped. Boss, was that real? He actually bought it. That's our most expensive item to date. Lin Mo flicked her forehead before saying, Stop getting amazed at everything. Are you not used to this yet? Come tomorrow. We might find a new item worth more than that. Oh, you're right. Jinren Taihao and Li Hua may show up with a true divine weapon in the future. When that happens, we won't just be ringing hundreds of stones. Boss, why am I getting afraid about our future? Lu Xiaoyu shivered, rubbing her shoulders as her mind wandered somewhere else. Isn't that too late for you? We're dealing with divine beings here, are we not? Now, go back and do your job. We'll take a break later. Let's try out the new lunchboxes. Alrighty. The young woman nodded enthusiastically and saluted before hopping away like a rabbit once more. As Lin Mo watched the crowded store gradually return to its usual emptiness, he couldn't help but continue wondering why his celestial providence was still getting triggered by others, but not himself. Unfortunately, he still had no time to once again try cultivating. He wasn't impatient, though. If just by going with the system messages, he had seen how potent his luck was. It could turn one's doomed fate around. Crimson Veil. You lot, why are you gathered in front of that store? Do you have designs for it? Bringing him back to the present, Su Chi suddenly heard someone shouting from outside. And right after that, the remaining Crimson Veil disciples inside the store hurriedly rushed out, joining Zhou Rue and the others. Lin Mo sighed deeply, pinching the bridge of his nose. Of course. Why wouldn't there be drama, right, when I'm about to enjoy a moment of peace? And the aura of harmony only works inside the store. Hearing the commotion, Lu Xiaoyu poked her head out from one of the shelves, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Boss, should I grab a broom? Just in case. No, Xiaoyu, Lin Mo replied, waving her off. Let's see what this is about first. If it escalates, that's when we'll step in to mediate. How can we get more customers if they fight each other in our storefront? As the shouting outside grew louder, Lin Mo reluctantly stepped out of the store, Lu Xiaoyu trailing close behind. And sure enough, what appeared before them was the Crimson Veil disciples standing off against another group of similarly dressed cultivators. In front of them, Lin Mo recognized the one leading them. Oh, boss, that's the young brat from the Azure Gale sect yesterday. He also brought more customers. But why is he antagonizing them? There should be no bad blood between them. Lu Xiaoyu exclaimed from his side before tilting her head in confusion. Lin Mo sighed, massaging his temples as he muttered, Yeah, this is a cultivation world, all right. Conflicts can happen even with the littlest of reason. But why does every day feel like the start of a new episode in a bad soap opera? The Azure Gale sect's young master, Yin Wei, stood at the forefront of his group, his pristine robes fluttering dramatically in the wind that only seemed to affect him. His entourage, equally well-dressed and annoyingly smug, mirrored his haughty demeanor. Crimson Veil disciples, Yin Wei bellowed, pointing an accusatory finger at Zhou Rue. Do you think you can monopolize this divine establishment? The Azure Gale sect will not stand for such underhanded tactics. Zhou Rue, still riding high on his newfound health and the confidence of having purchased the Celestial Wind Saber, stepped forward. Underhanded tactics? We're simply here as paying customers. If your sect lacks the means to shop here, that's no fault of ours. Benefactor accepts anyone as long as you can pay. Yin Wei's face flushed with indignation. Lacks the means? How dare you insult the Azure Gale sect? We are more than capable of outspending your entire sect tenfold. Oh, is that so? Why not show it instead of just talking your ass off? Zhou Rue retorted, his tone laced with mocking amusement. His fellow Crimson Veil disciples chuckled, their camaraderie adding fuel to the brewing fire. Lin Mo initially thought Zhou Rue had a decent character despite the description he heard about his sect. But upon looking at this scene, it came to him that he's simply acting decently because the store saved his life. His benefactor. As for other people, especially those who were hostile to his sect and fellow disciples for no reason, he was more than willing to let his sharp tongue do the talking. Yanwei laughed hysterically, a grating sound that made several Crimson Veil disciples roll their eyes. Outspending you? That's like saying a goldfish can swim faster than a dragon. Our sect has enough resources to buy out this entire city. He then gestured dramatically, his arrogance oozing from every pore as he stepped closer to Zhou Rue. I bet your pathetic sect barely has the means to pay for the water they drink every day. And look at you, clad in blood-red robes that are cheap. My eyes hurt with such colors. Such as a pitiful group who has nothing else to cling to except to flaunt how your robes stand out in a sea of the masses. Enough of that. Zhou Rue's smile disappeared as his hand clenched his fist. Those are our sect's colors, an emblem of strength. Unlike your arrogant posturing and ridiculous flowery garb. Yanwei was offended. A shade of red that could rival the Crimson Veil robes gradually occupied his face. Likewise, Zhou Rue's gaze hardened, his hand instinctively moving towards the hilt of his newly acquired celestial wind saber. The once peaceful aura of the storefront had been replaced with an imminent storm as the two groups of sect cultivators began their face-off. And with their voices so loud, it gathered the attention of the mortals living nearby or those who were probably also planning to go to the store. Are they always like this? Lin Mo muttered to Lu Xiaoyu, who was now safely hiding by the entrance. She was peering outside as if watching a play. This is tame, boss. In a neutral area like this, sect disciples are bound to act like pampered children vying for attention. At least, that's how it usually goes. Don't worry, their seniors aren't here. They'll be more behaved when their elders are present. I hope. She replied, her tone laced with a mix of amusement and concern. Wait for their elders to arrive? Lin Mo could only shake his head at the impossibility of that happening before these two groups started beating each other up. And just like he thought, the two factions eventually reached the point where words were no longer enough to convey their hostility. They even completely forgot the argument of outspending the other group to prove their superiority. They'd rather resort to fighting each other. As their hands gripped their weapons in anticipation of the incoming clash, the spiritual energy around them crackled and intensified as their hands gripped their weapons in anticipation. The few bystanders who hadn't run away were all wide-eyed. Most were scared and terrorized, but the others were like waiting for a good show to happen. He couldn't help but think that setting up a popcorn stall might net him more profits. Be boss. You have to step in soon. They're about to draw their swords. Lu Xiaoyu warned. Even though none of the cultivators in sight had surpassed the spirit condensation stage, she had no way to stop them alone, even with her heaven's reflex. But she believed that if there was someone who could calm this situation down, Lin Mo was the best bet. Pinching the bridge of his nose, he watched the two groups of cultivators gear up for what was surely about to become a full-fledged brawl right in front of his store. As a frail mortal who only had his celestial providence possibly protecting him from their spiritual pressure, Lin Mo narrowed his eyes as he thought of a way to de-escalate this situation. Since the aura of harmony only worked inside his store, wouldn't it be solved if he got them to come inside? Lin Mo stepped forward, his face the perfect blend of exasperation and forced calm. All right, that's enough, he called out, his voice cutting through the rising tension like a knife. Both groups of cultivators paused, their gazes snapping toward him. The Crimson Veil disciples naturally recognized him as the shopkeeper, so they went silent, but the ignorant Azure Gale disciples who were probably just following Yanwei all glared at him like an insignificant mortal trying to meddle in their business. He ignored the pressure, though, as his eyes only landed on the leaders, Zhou Rui and Yin Wei. "Benefactor," Zhou Rui started, his tone respectful but confused. "This matter concerns." Lin Mo raised a hand to cut him off. "I don't care what it concerns. You're both blocking the entrance to my store and scaring away potential customers. If you're going to bicker, at least do it away from here. You're aware of this, right? This is a place of business, not a sect rivalry arena." Both groups turned to him, his stern tone clearly not enough to deflate the collective tension. While the Crimson Veil disciples mostly accepted his words, the Azure Gale disciples issued mocking noises. Nevertheless, they were all stopped when Yin Wei raised his hand in a fist. After that, the young master stepped forward, his expression shifting into what he probably thought was a winning smile, but came off as mildly constipated in Lin Mo's eyes. "Shopkeeper," he said, his haughtiness not lessening one bit. "I went to your store yesterday. You must understand. My Azure Gale sect has a reputation to uphold. We cannot allow these rough individuals to tarnish it by claiming a stake in your store." Zhou Rui scoffed. "What a fool. The shopkeeper treats all customers equally. We're not claiming any stakes. And unlike you, we don't need to posture and make baseless accusations. So what are you waiting for? Why not show us how you're going to outspend us? See this saber? I just bought it." Yin Wei's smile faltered as his eyes focused on the weapon in Zhou Rui's hand. Despite his haughty attitude, he could tell the craftsmanship of the sword. It was no doubt a spirit-grade weapon at best. "Oomph. Are you implying I'm lying? This young master is. Sure, I'll outspend you. Shopkeeper, show me your most expensive ware. I'll buy it." Unfortunately for this young master, he had no wares more expensive than the Celestial Wind Saber anymore. But he could buy different items and spend more than the 80 spirit stones that Zhou Rui paid for the saber. Lin Mo suppressed a smirk. This was exactly the kind of ridiculous posturing that could be turned into profit. "My dear customers," Lin Mo began, his voice taking on a smooth, conciliatory tone. "If you truly wish to prove who can outspend the other, why not do so in a civilized manner? Step inside, where you can browse my wares at your leisure. After all, the best way to settle this is with actions, not words." Yin Wei scoffed, crossing his arms. "Why should I step into your store alongside these ruffians? They'll only sully the atmosphere with their crude presence." Zhou Rui bristled, his hand tightening on the hilt of his saber. "Ruffians? At least we don't strut around like peacocks in a storm. But fine, you can go inside. Most of us here have already bought what we need." Lin Mo didn't say anything else. He just deliberately gestured towards the store's entrance, a subtle invitation designed to lure them inside. It was almost like he was luring animals into a cage, and in a way, that was almost exactly what he was doing. He subtly turned his face to Lu Xiaoyu, who immediately did her job as she grabbed both ends of the shop's door handles to push them widely open while also motioning Yin Wei and his group to walk straight towards them. "You are welcome to browse at your leisure. We also have drinks if your throats are parched from all the shouting. And maybe our latest line of noodles may tickle your palate," Lin Mo said, his voice deceptively welcoming. Yin Wei, his pride clearly stroked by Lin Mo's respect, straightened up, his haughtiness returning. "Very well, shopkeeper. I will show you the Azure Gale sect's financial superiority. Watch closely, you ruffians. Your poor sect can never reach into the depths of our sect's coffers." With a dramatic flourish, Yin Wei marched toward the entrance, his group following behind like a flock of colorful peacocks. As Yin Wei and his entourage stepped into the store, a subtle shift washed over them as the aura of harmony set in. Their proud steps faltered and their rigid posture softened. The harsh lines on their faces eased into a look of mild curiosity, almost as if their initial anger was fading into a distant memory. Lin Mo, who was watching their every movement from just inside the entrance, felt a slight tingle of satisfaction and also admiration at how effective the bonus Shinrin Lihua granted the store. Alas, it would only last for a few days. He had to think of a better countermeasure for the eventual expiration of it. If these cultivators were willing to draw the weapons over a small matter, such as spending in a store, they would undoubtedly turn the store upside down if there was no magical effect calming down their nerves anymore. See, boss? Your magical aura of harmony is really working, I think. Lu Xiaoyu whispered as she suddenly appeared behind him, barely containing a snicker. Lin and Mo shot her a sidelong glance before walking back behind the counter to wait and watch his new set of customers. Of course it is. This is what proper customer service looks like, Xiaoyu. They even forgot about what they were fighting about. Repeat customers, February 5th. This is great. 3 more and we're done with our daily task, and it's still morning. Let's see. If this continues, our sales might not just double the amount from yesterday. I wonder who among them will be the first to get the loyalty card. I can announce its existence and let these fools empty their pockets to acquire it, but the novelty will easily wear off. Better keep it a secret and hand it out like a priceless treasure when someone cleared the requirement to afford one. Lin Emo thought to himself as he began planning for the future. Inside the store, the Azure Gale sect disciples wandered cautiously at first, their gazes darting between the shelves stocked with modern-looking products that seemed out of place in their cultivation world. They marveled at their peculiar designs as if someone who lived in a mountain arrived in a city. Yanwei, however, maintained his air of superiority, striding purposefully toward the weapons rack, checking each one of them. In particular, he was checking out every rapier or any weapon with a thin blade. Alas, there wasn't any spirit-grade weapon anymore. They're all mortal-grade, the quality below it. Disappointed, Yanwei walked to the counter and complained, his tone a mix of arrogance and feigned politeness. "Shopkeeper, I thought you could provide anything your customers need. Why don't you have a better rapier in your wares? That talisman yesterday was pretty good, but I need a weapon." Unfortunately, our weapon inventory is limited. Dear customer can come back tomorrow to check out our new wares. In the meantime, we do have several other high-quality goods that might interest you. Yanwei frowned, but with the aura of harmony in place, that's the extent of his complaint. Very well. What is the most expensive item you currently have in stock? Spernodete. I wish to demonstrate the Azure Gale sect's wealth. Lin Mo's customer service smile widened ever so slightly as he motioned toward the newly organized shelf of high-grade elixirs and talismans. Their items at the store only had 1 each in stock, so their prices were higher than the standard elixirs and talismans. Their packaging was also transformed to a modern feel, though. If you're looking to make a statement, these items are sure to impress. We have this Phoenix Breath Spray. It is a body spray that's not only capable of restoring spiritual energy and vitality, but it can also dispel low to intermediate grade curses. It's an essential item if ever you fall into moments of crisis. It has an affordable price of 60 spirit stones. Or perhaps you're looking for a stronger version of yesterday's talisman. Look no further. This is the Heaven's Barrier Cap, a defensive artifact capable of shielding against a full-powered attack from a Foundation Establishment stage cultivator, and it can repair itself after some time. With this on top of your head, and you're good to go. It's priced at 55 spirit stones. Lin Mo's sales pitch not only intrigued Yanwei, but also the other Azure Gale disciples inside the store as they peeked at the shelf he was pointing at. Yanwei's eyes gleamed as he inspected the items, clearly intrigued despite his attempt to maintain an air of nonchalance. In the end, he put on a face showing that he was unimpressed by the 55 and 60 spirit stones. Surely you have something more exclusive, something that truly reflects the grandeur of the Azure Gale sect. Lin Mo tried to suppress rolling his eyes as he maintained his smile to cater to him. Unfortunately, the Celestial Wind Saber was our priciest item, and it has already been sold. However, if you're interested, you could always purchase multiple items to show your sect's financial prowess. He watched Yin Wei's eyes glint in satisfaction, and that made him inwardly chuckle. Baited, hooked, and reeled in successfully. Yin Wei's lips curled into a self-satisfied smirk, his pride practically oozing from every pore. Multiple items, you say? Very well, shopkeeper. I shall demonstrate the Azure Gale sect's unparalleled wealth. Bring me those 2 items you mentioned, the Phoenix Breath Spray and the Heaven's Barrier Cap. Lin Mo nodded, keeping his professional demeanor intact as he retrieved the items from the shelf and rang them in his register. An excellent choice, dear customer. That will be 115 spirit stones. Yin Wei waved a dismissive hand, producing a spatial pouch containing the spirit stones with a dramatic flourish. A paltry sum for someone of my stature. Here, take it. Lin Mo accepted the pouch, his eyes discreetly flicking to the system interface to confirm the amount. True to Yin Wei's words, the payment was exact. 115 high-grade spirit stones. Look at this. He's the real deal. Lin Mo thought as his mind scanned each glowing stone before tucking them into the register. On the side, he could see Lu Xiaoyu snickering, understanding that his boss once again scammed a rich cultivator by not specifying what grade of spirit stone he needed to purchase it. In his defense, though, if they're not going to ask, he won't tell them. He can be honest, but he won't go out of his way to inform them of everything. Pretty soon, they'll realize that they can ask about it anyway. By then, it will be too late for them to complain about their previous purchases. And for the record, Lin Mo asked the system about its real price, and the items Yin Wei bought were listed in mid-grade spirit stones, just like Zhou Rui's saber. Lin Mo handed over the sleek packaging containing the Phoenix Breath Spray and Heaven's Barrier Cap, both perfectly wrapped in colorful, modern designs that looked utterly out of place in the hands of a haughty cultivator. Thank you for your patronage, dear customer, Lin Mo said, his customer service smile firmly in place. May these items serve you well. Yin Wei, now holding his purchases, turned toward Zhou Rui and the Crimson Veil disciples outside, his smirk widening. He then stepped out to brag. There, do you see? The Azure Gale sect's wealth is unmatched. 115 spirit stones spent in mere moments. Tell me, can your humble sect do the same? Zhou Rui sarcastically smirked. Congratulations. You've proven how wasteful the young master of the Azure Gale sect is. What's next? Want to try its effectiveness against Celestial Wind Saber? With the aura of harmony wearing off the moment he stepped out of the store, Yin Wei opened his mouth, clearly ready to escalate the situation once again. That's right. I can show you the true capabilities of my latest purchases and put your cheap blade to the test. Do you dare? The young master opened the packaging of the Heaven's Barrier Cap and put it on before spraying himself with the Phoenix Breath Spray. That guy's serious about that. It's amusing to see someone spraying themselves before going to battle. Or is that also his way of showing off? Lin Mo mused. In any case, I've read this cliché many times before. It's still as stupid as it looks. He groaned inwardly as he could imagine another round of pointless boasting fueled by wounded pride and too much spiritual energy. But a customer is still a customer. He remained to be the store's biggest spender. If the Azure Gale sect was as prosperous as this young master claimed, Lin Mo only stood to profit from them. No reason to drive them. He just had to coax them into becoming the store's loyal patrons. After signaling for Lu Xiaoyu to take over the counter, he stepped outside. Almost instantly, his presence caused a momentary pause in the escalating tension between Yin Wei and Zhou Rui. Dear customers, Lin Mo began, I appreciate your enthusiasm for showcasing the effectiveness of our humble store's product. But I must remind you that you're still on our storefront. It could disrupt our business. If you insist on testing its quality, may I suggest you take it somewhere that isn't directly in front of my store? Yin Wei, still holding the Phoenix Breath Spray like it was a divine artifact, frowned. Shopkeeper, are you suggesting I not demonstrate the Azure Gale sect's dominance here and now? What better place than before the very establishment that provided these exceptional items? Zhou Rui smirked, his hand resting on the hilt of his celestial wind saber. He's right, benefactor. Let him embarrass himself. We'll all get a good laugh out of it. Lin Mo maintained his business smile. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm suggesting is that you both channel your energy into something more productive. Perhaps a friendly contest that won't create bad blood? As my assistant told me earlier, it would greatly benefit both of you and your respective sex if you continue your exchange in a more organized way. Both groups of disciples exchanged confused glances. Yin Wei tilted his head, intrigued. A contest? What sort of contest? Zhou Rui, who was itching to demonstrate the might of his new saber, paused as well. The prospect of having the haughty Azure Gale young master look so pitiful as he brags without doing anything piqued his interest. Oh, benefactor, should we have a friendly match in front of the store? Zhou Rui asked. As they said, actions speak louder than words, correct? Yin Wei opened his mouth, clearly ready to accept Zhou Rui's suggestion. But before he could utter a single word, a new voice cut through the air, its tone sharp and commanding. Yin Wei, is that you making a scene again? Did you bring our disciples out to posture in front of another sect? A middle-aged man with a stern face strode into the small clearing. His robes, embroidered with the same azure patterns as Yin Wei's, radiated an air of authority that made the young master visibly falter. As second uncle, Yin Wei stammered, his arrogance momentarily replaced with a hint of apprehension. The man's gaze swept over the scene, taking in the crimson-veiled disciples, the open storefront, and finally landing on Lin Mo, his eyes narrowing slightly. I apologize for my nephew's behavior, shopkeeper, the man said, his voice carrying a tone of practiced politeness that seemed like it was forced, unlike those that they felt inside the store. He has a tendency to let his enthusiasm get the better of him. I am Yin Chun, a senior elder of the Azure Gale sect. Lin Mo could only nod. He could instantly tell that this man might even be stronger than Yu Qing Yin or the store's first customer just by his presence alone. As a mortal, he was feeling suffocated already. Furthermore, he recognized that name in the system. He was among those that his store might cater to. It's like a reminder that powerful figures such as this man might take an interest in the store. This meant he had to be even more careful with how he dealt with his next actions. It's no problem, Elder Yin. This is a business, and all kinds of customers are welcome here. Feel free to browse our wares. If I have what you need, I'm willing to sell it to you. I am Lin Mo, the shopkeeper. Yin Chen nodded, his gaze lingering on the store's peculiar design before turning to his nephew, his voice laced with thinly veiled annoyance. Yin Wei, do not cause trouble in front of the store. If you wish to accept the friendly match, do it in a proper venue. Yin Wei, visibly deflated by his uncle's arrival, mumbled a grudging apology, his previous haughtiness now reduced to a simmering resentment. He knew that if he continued, his second uncle might actually punish him later. Very well, second uncle. I shall adhere to your guidance. He glared daggers at Zhou Rui, as if it was the Crimson Veil disciple's fault that he was scolded by his own elder. Zhou Rui simply smirked in response. He was enjoying Yin Wei's discomfort. However, because of Yin Chen's presence, he also couldn't say anything as he and his fellow disciples were mere ants against someone of his stature. Yin Chen turned back to Lin Mo, his expression now neutral, though his sharp eyes held an underlying intensity. Again, shopkeeper, I apologize for my nephew's behavior. He is still young and has much to learn. It's no problem, Elder Yin. As long as everyone remains civil, I have no complaints. Lin Mo replied, his tone professional as he carefully sized up this unfathomable existence. His mind whirled quickly as he thought of an idea. I understand that you may want to continue the friendly match my other customer proposed, and my store is not the best venue for that. But in the future, to prevent conflict from escalating to a worse direction, will provide an arena to settle disputes. Surely, Taihao expected conflicts like this to happen, right? Furthermore, as the store's name spreads further, conflicts like this will become a daily occurrence. The Divine Pantheon might have prepared something to handle that. For example, new facilities which might include an indoor arena as the store expands further. If there's none planned, I'll force them to do so. Lin Mo thought, his idea already expanding far from simply just following the store system. The system is merely a tool to assist the store's operation, not a guidebook on how to run the store. Yin Shen's gaze lingered on Lin Mo for a moment, a flicker of intrigue flashing in his eyes, as though he was surprised to hear that invitation. An arena, you say? May I assume your establishment plans to spread more of its influence? Lin Mo maintained his composed smile, though inside he felt like he was walking to keep his balance on a tightrope. Elder Yin, this establishment exists to provide convenience and solutions to all who enter. As the number of customers grows, so do the challenges of maintaining peace and order. An arena would be a practical addition to ensure disputes are settled constructively and away from the storefront. Wouldn't you say? Yin Shen's expression remained inscrutable, but there was a faint glimmer of approval in his eyes. Indeed, a wise approach, shopkeeper. Conflict is inevitable among cultivators, but providing a controlled venue for it is both clever and beneficial. Should you implement such an addition, I believe it would garner significant interest from many sections. Thank you, Elder Yin. Your words carry great weight, Lin Mo replied, giving a slight bow. In the meantime, I hope you and your disciples find something of value within the store. Yin Shen nodded, his gaze shifting to the storefront. Very well, I shall take a look. With Yin Shen's presence, the Azure Gale sect disciples both inside and outside the store had their arrogance noticeably dampened. Zhou Rue and his group of Crimson Veil sect disciples also didn't try to escalate the conflict further. They collectively clasped their hands and bowed towards Lin Mo before strutting away in peace. Watching them leave, Lin Mo released a small sigh of relief before turning back and stepping into the store. Lu Xiaoyu was grinning wildly while giving him a thumbs up. He thoroughly impressed his energetic assistant this time. The potential disaster had been defused, and now they had the opportunity to turn the situation into more profit. Inside the store, his eyebrows twitched as Yin Shen felt the effect of aura of harmony settling. Unlike Yin Wei and the other disciples, he was more sensitive to it. Nevertheless, even though he sensed the calming effects, it was impossible for him to pinpoint its origin. In the end, he could only attribute it to the uniqueness of the store which, from what he heard, was established by a divine being. With Yin Wei following him, his eyes roamed over the shelves, his sharp gaze taking in the modern packaging and peculiar products. Unlike his nephew, he didn't seem fazed by the strange aesthetics. Instead, he appeared to be analyzing the items with the precision of a seasoned veteran who wouldn't be scammed by fraudulent merchants. Shopkeeper, Yin Shen called, holding up a manual. Not thick nor thin, just average. Lin Mo recognized that as one of the cultivation technique manuals that had been added to the store recently. Through the system, he was informed of its title and contents. Blossoming Lotus Breathing Technique, an intermediate grade, foundational cultivation technique manual from the now extinct Lotus Immortal Hall. It is known for its balanced approach to cultivating both the body and the spirit, making it an ideal starting point for new cultivators. Suitable to become an intermediate grade sex foundational cultivation technique. Price, 45 spirit stones. Is this real? How did the store get its hands on this manual? Lin Mo maintained his calm, professional demeanor as he approached Yin Shen, glancing at the manual in the elder's hand. As he was also interested in starting his cultivation, he had already skimmed through the manuals inside the store. Each one was unique, most likely to ensure that the techniques wouldn't spread within the realm carelessly. The manuals were also not limited to cultivation techniques. There were all sorts of manuals there. And somehow, he noticed that the Crimson Veil and Azure Gale sect disciples were overlooking that shelf containing them. Either the store had some kind of spell around it that made it impossible for just anyone to browse them, or his customers were mostly ignorant of them. So far, only Yin-Chun has shown interest in them. I should also look for a suitable manual for me once I've finished understanding the beginner's guide that Xiaoyu got for me. I should be able to connect and guide the spiritual energy to my Dantian soon. Yes, Elder Yin, that is indeed an authentic blossoming lotus breathing technique manual. Our establishment ensures the quality and authenticity of all items we sell. Yin Chen's sharp eyes narrowed slightly, his fingers brushing over the cover of the manual. It was new and untarnished, like something that had just been produced from publishing house. That's why he couldn't fully believe its authenticity. The Lotus Immortal Hall was wiped out centuries ago, and their techniques have all but vanished. Even the remnants are tightly held by a few sects. How does your store possess this? It's even as good as new. Lin Mo's mind raced as he considered his response. He couldn't exactly tell Yin-Chun about the Divine Pantheon's mysterious inventory system, as he too was ignorant about it. Instead, he opted for a measured response. Our suppliers are unique, Elder Yin. The Divine Convenience Store specializes in offering items that are difficult, if not impossible, to find elsewhere. It is our mission to provide solutions and opportunities to all who enter, regardless of their origin. Yin-Chen's gaze lingered on Lin and Mo for a moment longer before he gave a small nod, his suspicion tempered by a hint of curiosity. Interesting. And the price? 45 spirit stones, Lin and Mo replied. Yin-Chen raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised by the reasonable price for such a rare manual. Only 45? For a technique of this caliber? Are you sure this is authentic? I will go back to complain if you're lying to me. Lin and Mo chuckled lightly. We aim to make quality items accessible, Elder Yin. Once again, I assure you of its authenticity. Furthermore, the price reflects the manual's value from our store's perspective. Yin-Chen considered the manual for a moment longer before nodding. Very well, I'll take it. Lin and Mo rang up the sale, discreetly noting the transaction on the system panel. As Yin-Chun handed over the spirit stones, Lin and Mo couldn't help but feel a sense of relief. Elder Yan's purchase not only added to the day's profits, but also further solidified the store's reputation among the Azure Gale sect. Yin Wei, who had been lingering nearby, finally spoke up. Second uncle, are you sure that manual is worth it? It seems simplistic. Yin-Chen shot his nephew a sharp look. Do not underestimate the value of foundational techniques, Wei. A solid foundation is the cornerstone of any cultivator's success. This manual could strengthen our sect's lower disciples significantly. Yin Wei begrudgingly nodded, clearly chastised. His young master aura was nothing against his uncle. He turned his attention back to the shelves, his gaze falling on a pack of brightly colored snacks. What about these? Are they foundational too? Lin Mo's lips twitched as he suppressed a laugh. Not quite, dear customer. Those are spirit-infused potato chips. They're tasty with a pleasant spicy flavor. It can enhance focus during cultivation, albeit not as effective as taking a specific pill. It's something you snack on for late-night training sessions. Yin Wei hesitated for a moment before grabbing a pack and tossing it onto the counter. Fine, I'll take a dozen. Lin and Mo rang up the purchase, watching as the day's events continued to unfold with a mix of amusement and satisfaction. After completing his purchase, Yin-Chen returned to the counter, his sharp gaze meeting Lin Mo's. Shopkeeper, your establishment is unique, to say the least. I will inform my sect master of its existence. You may find more of our disciples visiting in the future. Lin and Mo bowed slightly. Your support is greatly appreciated, Elder Yen. We welcome all customers who seek quality and fairness. Yinxin gave a curt nod before turning to his nephew. Yin Wei, let us depart. You've caused enough commotion for one day. Tell everyone to finish their purchases. Yes, second uncle. Yin Wei bowed as he turned to the other Azure Gale sect disciples who were still browsing. Most of them had actually finished picking what they wanted to buy. They're just afraid to approach the counter because of Yin Chen's presence. That's why as soon as the pair of uncle and nephew stepped out of the store, they quickly lined up and paid for their items. Lu Xiaoyu, who had nothing else to do, assisted in packing the items, her quirky personality dispelling the tension from the disciples. Her eyes also sparkled in greed as she saw the growing number of sales. With just the group of both Crimson Veil and Azure Gale sect disciples, they've already surpassed their sales from yesterday and even finished the 2 daily tasks. With the last of the Azure Gale disciples finally departing, a quiet hum settled over the Divine Convenience Store. Lin Mo leaned against the counter, his body aching with exhaustion and a strange sense of accomplishment. He watched as Lu Xiaoyu, who was now practically vibrating with leftover energy, began to restock the shelves with unnerving speed, her heaven's reflex making her movements seem like a blur. Boss, we did it. You're so great. We actually did it. We sold tons of items in just this morning. Lu Xiaoyu exclaimed, her eyes shining with excitement. Also, did you see the way Elder Yin looked at you? I bet the sect master of Azure Gale will be lining up to buy from us soon. And Yin Wei's face when you casually told him to buy all those items. That was priceless. You played into his prideful arrogance, making him spend beyond what he was intending to. Lin Mo chuckled, shaking his head as he grabbed a rag to wipe down the counter. Don't get too excited, Xiaoyu. Without the aura of harmony doing all the work to calm them down, we wouldn't have achieved this result. However, I'm certain they'll be satisfied with our products, and satisfaction leads to repeat customers. Upon saying that, he swiped away the system notifications about the numerous customer satisfaction rewards that awarded him 1 spirit stone each to his personal balance. What was left behind were the numerous system notifications, informing him of his celestial providence leaking out to his customers. Anyway, I'm starting to wonder if you're a secret merchant genius, boss. Lu Xiaoyu continued, her voice full of genuine admiration. You're great at making people spend their spirit stones. You even made Elder Yin lower his guard for a moment with your calmness. All right, stop flattering me. I'll treat you to something later. In any case, it's all about understanding the customer, Xiaoyu. Tai Hao left us to manage this store. We have to know what they need and then convince them that we're the ones who can provide it. And as always, a good product always sells itself. The sound of approaching hooves echoed through the obscure street where the Divine Convenience Store was located. It gradually grew louder as a richly adorned carriage came into view. The Verdant Sky Pavilion's emblem, a silver vine entwined with a jade blossom, was prominently displayed on its side, a clear indication of the occupant's importance. The carriage was pulled by 4 majestic, white steeds. Their movements were fluid and graceful, and their harnesses gleamed with intricate golden patterns. Inside, Yu Qingyan adjusted her robes, her mind filled with anticipation and apprehension. Seated beside her was the pavilion master, her grandmother, whose sharp eyes surveyed the passing scenery with a knowing glint. The old woman's presence filled the carriage, her calm demeanor creating an atmosphere of both serenity and authority. Opposite them sat Jing'er, the pavilion master's personal assistant, her expression unreadable as always. "Grandmother, are you certain this visit is wise?" Yu Qingyan asked, her tone betraying a hint of nervousness. "The store may not be as remarkable as you say," the pavilion master finished, a teasing smile playing on her lips. "Relax, Qingyan. I trust your judgment. And besides, a little bit of chaos is always good to shake up our mundane routines. Just think of this as a simple reconnaissance mission." Yu Qingyin sighed inwardly. She knew her grandmother well enough to understand that this wasn't just reconnaissance. This was the pavilion master indulging in a moment of whimsical amusement due to her current fascination with the peculiar store. However, thanks to this whim, the opportunity to quell her craving for the shop's products appeared before her. As their carriage approached the divine convenience store, they saw a group of cultivators clearly departing from the store. With their iconic azure robes, the emissary of the Verdant Sky Pavilion would not fail to recognize them. Azure Gale Sect, Yu Qingyin murmured. The pavilion master's gaze sharpened, her playful amusement fading slightly. Indeed, it seems the rumors of this store are spreading faster than wildfire. Their presence warrants attention. That's their high elder, Yin Shun, and the son of the sect master, Yin Wei. Jing'er remained silent. Her eyes flickered between the Azure Gale sect disciples and the divine convenience store, her expression unreadable. The pavilion master signaled for the carriage to stop in front of them. They weren't strangers to each other. As high-ranking members of different influential forces within the region, they had already met a few times. Yin Shen's sharp eyes locked onto the emblem of the Verdant Sky Pavilion as his expression shifted into one of polite acknowledgement. He raised his hand, signaling for the Azure Gale disciples to halt their departure. With measured steps, he approached the carriage, his aura calm but commanding. The pavilion master stepped down gracefully, her presence radiating a natural authority that rivaled Yin Shen's. Her emerald robes shimmered faintly in the sunlight, the silver vine embroidery catching the light like living threads. Behind her, Yu Qingyin and Jing'er followed, their movements equally poised. Their otherworldly beauty was enough to make the young disciples mesmerized. Elder Yin, the pavilion master greeted, her tone warm but laced with the weight of her status. It seems the divine convenience store has captured your sect's attention as well. Yin Chen inclined his head respectfully. Pavilion master, you. It is a surprise to see you here. Indeed, this establishment is intriguing. My disciples and I have just concluded our visit. The pavilion master's lips curved into a faint smile. Intriguing is an understatement, I believe. My granddaughter has spoken highly of this place, and I decided to see it for myself. I trust your experience here was satisfactory. Yin Shen's gaze flickered briefly to the store behind him before returning to the pavilion master. The foundational cultivation manual of the Lotus Immortal Hall he had recently purchased was tucked securely within his robes. The wares are unique, and the shopkeeper is far from conventional. I must admit, however, the quality is undeniable. I have no doubt you will find your visit worthwhile. Yu Qingyin's cheeks reddened slightly at her grandmother's pointed glance. She maintained her composure by faking a cough. Grandmother, the shopkeeper is indeed unconventional, but his goods are unlike anything found elsewhere. Yin Wei, standing a few steps behind his uncle, couldn't resist a scoff as he intentionally showed off the products he bought. Unconventional is putting it lightly. The shopkeeper has a peculiar way of doing business, but I suppose even oddities can have their uses. The pavilion master's gaze shifted to Yin Wei, her sharp eyes narrowing slightly at the cap that was peculiarly designed. Young Master Yin Wei, I presume? It is refreshing to see the Azure Gale sect's younger generation taking an active interest in the world beyond their sect. Yin Wei straightened, his pride flickering back to life under the pavilion master's scrutiny. Even in his proud moments, he couldn't dare offend the old woman. Of course, pavilion master. The Azure Gale sect always seeks to broaden its horizons. The pavilion master's faint smile didn't waver, but her tone carried a subtle edge. A commendable pursuit. I trust you found the shopkeeper's wares to your satisfaction. Yin Wei hesitated, glancing at his uncle before responding. They were adequate. Yin Shun cleared his throat, cutting off any further remarks from his nephew. Pavilion master, I will not delay your visit further. Should your esteemed pavilion find value here, I look forward to hearing your thoughts. With that, Yinshun inclined his head once more and signaled for his disciples to continue their departure. The Azure Gale sect members filed out in an orderly manner, their presence gradually dissipating as they moved down the street. The pavilion master watched them leave before turning her attention to the Divine Convenience Store. Her gaze lingered on the peculiar signage and the faint glow emanating from the interior. "Interesting," she murmured, her tone carrying a hint of amusement. "Qingyan, lead the way. My eagerness has just been boosted. Let's see what this store has for us." Yu Qingyan nodded, stepping forward as they continued towards the store, pushing open the store's doors for her grandmother. The familiar chime rang out, and the pavilion master, accompanied by Jinger, followed her inside. Inside the Divine Convenience Store, Lin Mo was busy restocking the shelf of noodles when the door chime rang. He looked up, expecting more disciples from the Azure Gale sect. Instead, his eyes widened slightly at the sight of the two women entering the store. One carried herself with an air of quiet power, while the other, though younger, exuded the confidence of someone accustomed to authority. Behind them, Lu Xiaoyu's jaw dropped, and she quickly straightened her uniform before running to his side, whispering urgently, "Boss, Yu Qingyan is back. And, oh no, if I'm not mistaken, that's her grandmother, the pavilion master of the Verdant Sky Pavilion." Lin Mo blinked, then quickly schooled his expression into a polite smile. "Welcome to the Divine Convenience Store. How may I assist you today?" The pavilion master's gaze swept over the store's interior, her expression one of genuine curiosity. "So, this is the famed establishment my granddaughter has been raving about. You must be the shopkeeper, Lin Mo." Lin Mo gave a slight bow. "That's correct, dear customer. Feel free to browse our wares. I assume Miss Yu has noticed it already. We've expanded our wares since yesterday." And just like he said, the moment Yu Qingyan took in the interior of the store, she was shocked at the sight. Her eyes darted around the store, her composure cracking slightly as she took in the new additions. The shelves seemed even more abundant than yesterday, stocked with items she couldn't even begin to categorize. The weapons rack had been rearranged, now featuring a set of peculiar-looking artifacts, and there was a new glowing cooler in the corner labeled Mystical Brews. Yu Qingyan, trying to maintain her usual composure, stepped forward as her gaze swept across the store. "Indeed, grandmother, the store has expanded its offerings. It seems that each day brings new surprises." The pavilion master's sharp eyes missed nothing. She noted the modern design of the shelves, the immaculate arrangement of products, and the faint, calming aura that seemed to permeate the air. She turned her gaze to Lin Mo, her expression unreadable but intrigued. "Shopkeeper," she began, her voice carrying a lot of weight, "I must admit, this establishment is unlike anything I've encountered in my years." Lin Mo's customer service smile widened slightly. "Thank you for your kind words, dear customer. We aim to provide unique and high-quality goods that cater to a wide range of needs. Please, take your time to browse. If there's anything you're curious about, I'll be happy to explain." Yu Qingyan hesitated for a moment before stepping toward the shelf she had frequented yesterday, her eyes lighting up as she spotted a new flavor of heavenly dew soda. Peach Blossom Sparkle, the label read, with a picture of a blooming peach tree and a glittery pink drink. "Grandmother, you must try this," Yu Qingyan said, holding up a bottle. "It's refreshing, to say the least." The pavilion master raised an eyebrow, taking the bottle from her granddaughter's hands. She examined it closely, the modern packaging clearly foreign to her sensibilities. A drink that sparkles. How peculiar. "Dear customer," Lin Mo interjected smoothly, "the Heavenly Dew Soda is one of our current bestsellers. Miss Yu here can attest to that. It not only refreshes the body, but also revitalizes the spirit. This new flavor, Peach Blossom Sparkle, is particularly effective for its soothing properties." The pavilion master nodded thoughtfully before handing the bottle to Jinger, who accepted it with her usual stoic expression. We'll take one to try. Yu Qingyan, meanwhile, had moved on to the noodles section, her eyes scanning the new varieties. She picked up a pack labeled Celestial Curry Burst and turned to Lin Mo with a faint blush. Shopkeeper, this wasn't here yesterday. Lin Mo chuckled. We receive new stock regularly. That particular flavor is known for its bold and invigorating taste. It's still spicy, though. Miss, you might want to try. We have also expanded our dining area. He gestured to the corner where more machines had popped up. Sooner or later, he'd probably get a microwave that could heat box lunches and ice cream dispenser. The pavilion master's gaze flicked to the noodle shelf, her lips twitching in amusement. How peculiar. These items are so unique. I'm starting to understand why my granddaughter spent her monthly stipend in just 2 days. Are you aware, shopkeeper? My granddaughter was always so tight on expenses that she only set herself less than 1% of her salary for a monthly stipend. Everything goes to the bank or to the enterprises she's investing in. Now, you made her withdraw for the first time in a decade. I see. I should have put up a sign soon that our products may be addictive to the new tongues. We aim to provide balance, dear customer. Lin Mo replied smoothly, but deep inside. He couldn't help but shake his head. We wish to service our customers to the best of our abilities in the name of convenience. However, if it will lead to poverty or breaking one's habit, it'll be best to warn them. Although he said that, Lin Mo's eyes continued to follow Yu Qingyan, who was now about to make herself that new noodle. She's like Yanwei, a customer with deep pockets. But unlike that pompous young master, she seemed more engaged in savory indulgences. You're quite the diplomat, shopkeeper. Few merchants would care enough to warn their customers about overindulgence. But then again, it seems you've created something here that's difficult to resist, the old woman remarked. Lin Mo maintained his polite smile. We aim for balance, dear customer. A little indulgence is fine as long as it brings joy. Besides, it's not just the products, but the experience that keeps people coming back. The pavilion master nodded, clearly impressed. She gestured toward Jinger, who was still holding the bottle of peach blossom sparkle. Jinger, why don't you try this first? I'd like to see if it's as remarkable as Qingyan claims. Without hesitation, Jinger opened the bottle and took a cautious sip. Her stoic expression didn't change, but her eyes widened ever so slightly, a subtle but telling reaction. It's pleasant, Jinger said after a moment, her tone even. Refreshing, with a hint of sweetness that lingers on the palate. The pavilion master's lips twitched in amusement. If even Jinger approves, it must be something special. She turned to Lin Mo. We'll take a case of these. Yu Qingyan, who was busy preparing her celestial curry burst noodles at the new dining station, nearly dropped her chopsticks. A case, grandmother? Why not? The pavilion master said lightly. If it's as good as you claim, it would be a shame to only buy one. Lin Mo nodded, expertly concealing his glee. An excellent choice, dear customer. I'll have them packed and ready for you shortly, but in the meantime, feel free to browse. We still have a lot to offer you. Our store boasted of providing convenience. I believe that dear customer can find something uniquely catered to your needs. Upon saying that, Lu Xiaoyu, who was waiting for his cue, immediately popped out from where she was observing. Needs, is it? We'll see, the pavilion master meaningfully said as she turned to Xiaoyu. Lin Mo noticed the old woman's eyebrows jumping in slight surprise when she focused on his rabbit-like assistant. It's like seeing someone she hadn't expected to be here. Is Xiaoyu also from an influential force? A reclusive family, perhaps? He mused. All he knew about her was that she was sent by her family to assist him in running the store. Also, that family worshipped Tai Hao as their deity. Please follow me. I'll be guiding you through our finest selections. Lu Xiaoyu's energetic demeanor was impossible to ignore as she gestured enthusiastically for the pavilion master and her entourage to follow her. Her wide grin and sparkling eyes were a stark contrast to the stoic Jinger and the composed pavilion master. This way, esteemed customers, we've got everything you could possibly need and maybe a few things you didn't know you needed. Lu Xiaoyu chirped, leading them toward the shelves stocked with artifacts and elixirs. The pavilion master raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued by Xiaoyu's exuberance. You seem quite dedicated to your role, young lady. Of course, Lu Xiaoyu replied without missing a beat. Customer service is the heart of the store. Besides, it's fun seeing people's faces light up when they discover something amazing. Lin Mo, still behind the counter, let out a quiet sigh of relief. Lu Xiaoyu's energy was a double-edged sword, but in this case, it seemed to be working in their favor. As they reached the artifacts section, Lu Xiaoyu stopped by a shelf containing artifacts with a modern feel to them, much like the umbrella and the raincoat. She picked up a pair of small, rectangular devices with a sleek antenna that Su Qi could recognize as a mock-up of a walkie-talkie from a shelf. She held it up with a flourish like an experienced sales lady from Earth. This, esteemed pavilion master, is the Radiant Whisper device, a mid-grade communication artifact that allows instant, private messages over long distances. Its function is no different from a communication crystal, but this artifact's advantage is that its signal cannot be blocked by isolation barriers. The pavilion master's sharp gaze lingered on the walkie-talkies, her fingers brushing against their slick surface. Interesting. If that's the case, I assume this cannot be intercepted as well. Indeed, its security is top-notch. You can set a unique frequency here, and only a connected device can communicate with it, Xiaoyu declared, puffing out her chest. It's encrypted with spiritual energy unique to the owner. Even the best spy wouldn't be able to intercept your messages. I see. Then that means they're useless alone. Regrettably, that's the case. However, it guarantees that any messages can only be received by the designated recipient and no one else. Who forged this artifact? I apologize, but the identity of the artisan who crafted this artifact is not disclosed. Lu Xiaoyu replied smoothly, her wide grin unwavering. Our inventory comes from unique sources that prioritize quality and discretion. However, I assure you, Pavilion Master, the craftsmanship speaks for itself. The Pavilion Master hummed thoughtfully, turning the Radiant Whisper device over in her hands. Interesting. The design is unconventional, yet practical. An untraceable communication is indeed a rare feature. Jinger, standing silently beside her, leaned in slightly to inspect the artifact. Pavilion Master, this could be invaluable for securing communication lines during sensitive operations. The Pavilion Master nodded, her eyes narrowing slightly. How much for pair? Lu Xiaoyu beamed, her enthusiasm palpable. 100 spirit stones for a pair. A worthwhile investment for peace of mind and security. The Pavilion Master raised an eyebrow at the price, but said nothing, instead placing the devices in her basket. We'll take one set. Let's continue. For the next few minutes, Lu Xiaoyu continued guiding the Pavilion Master enthusiastically. Lin Mo watched from the counter, clearly pleased at Xiaoyu's sales pitches. Shopkeeper, your little assistant is improving. Suddenly, Yu Qingyan, who was still waiting for her noodles to cook, approached the counter and stood close to Lin Mo like another interested party, watching over what was transpiring. Is she? She's always that enthusiastic. What about you, Miss Yu? Are you not interested in other products? You always seemed content with just satiating your indulgences. Yu Qingyan's cheeks flushed slightly at Lin Mo's comment. She faked a cough, trying to regain her elegant composure as she crossed her arms. Shopkeeper, are you implying that my interests are shallow? I'll have you know, strategic indulgence is key to maintaining focus and balance. Lin Mo smirked, wiping the counter absent-mindedly. Strategic indulgence, is it? I suppose that makes your repeated purchases of soda and noodles a calculated maneuver for peak performance. I admire the dedication of Miss Yu. Yu Qingyan raised her chin, feigning indignation. Precisely. You should be honored that I've chosen your products as my go-to for such important matters. Lin Mo chuckled, shaking his head. Honored indeed. Just don't let your strategic indulgence bankrupt you. Bankrupt? I'll let you know. I brought 1,000 spirit stones with me today, and I'm intending to spend it all. Oh, are you also in need of a tour, Miss Yu? I don't mind leaving the counter to assist you, Lin Mo said as he continued to poke at Yu Qingyan. Very well. Let me see if there are things that can pique my interest more than your heavenly noodles and soda. Yu Qingyan's declaration hung in the air like a gauntlet thrown down, and Lin Mo couldn't resist a sly grin. Very well, Miss Yu, he said, stepping out from behind the counter with an exaggerated bow. Allow me to personally guide you through the wonders of the divine convenience store. Who knows? You might find something to elevate your strategic indulgence to an art form. Yu Qingyan arched an eyebrow, trying to maintain her composure. But no matter how annoyed she became at how Lin Mo acted, a faint smile couldn't help but tug at her lips. Lead the way, shopkeeper. Let's see if your store lives up to your confidence. As Lin Mo guided Yu Qingyan through the aisles, he gestured to a shelf filled with peculiar-looking trinkets. They're the ones that didn't have a modern feel to them. They're just regular artifacts that could probably be found in this world. He picked up a small, orb-like device with a glowing core. This is the Spirit Resonance Sphere. He began holding it up for Yu Qingyan to inspect. An artifact designed for group meditation. It synchronizes the spiritual energy of up to 10 cultivators, enhancing cultivation efficiency during group sessions. It also beats the regular spiritual gathering arrays in its effectiveness, ideal for sects or small teams out in the wild. Yu Qingyan tilted her head, examining the orb closely. Interesting. Does it have any limitations? It's most effective for cultivators within one realm of each other, Lin Mo explained. Any larger gap in cultivation stages reduces its synchronization efficiency. But for a group of similarly skilled individuals, it's unmatched. Furthermore, this is only usable for at most a year. Any more than that, and the effectiveness will drastically lower until it breaks. Yu Qingyan nodded thoughtfully, placing the sphere back on the shelf. Practical. Give me 10 of these. I'll have our disciples test it. How generous, Lin Mo commented as he put 10 of the same artifacts. Because of their functionality, they cost 30 spirit stones each. She already surpassed the record of young Master Yongwei. Now, show me something unique, something that I can use. Unique, you say? Lin Mo's eyes became that of a hawk watching his prey from up above. I think I have just the thing. Let's see if I can push you to spend your 1,000 spirit stones today. Lin Mo inwardly laughed as his mind already drifted to that golden loyalty card waiting to be given to its first owner. Lin Mo led her to a corner where a peculiar display stood, showcasing items that seemed more whimsical than practical. Lin Mo picked up what appeared to be a simple, unassuming foldable fan. This, Miss Yu, is the Celestial Breeze fan, he said, flicking it open with a dramatic flourish. At first glance, it's just a simple fan, but it creates a gentle breeze infused with calming spiritual energy. Perfect for hot days, stressful situations, or even subtle intimidation. Imagine fanning yourself during a negotiation while your opponent slowly feels their tension double or melt away. He then glanced at the system panel for its price. Price, 10 spirit stones. Not a bad prize for its functionality. He mused. Yu Qingyan couldn't suppress a laugh. A fan? Shopkeeper, are you suggesting I weaponize air conditioning? It's not weaponizing, Miss Yu. It's strategizing. The same as how you do your work. Lin Mo said with his professional smile intact. Look at this. It's practical, elegant, and send a message. Plus, it's only 10 spirit stones. A small price for comfort and style. Yu Qingyan considered it for a moment before placing it in her basket. Fine, I'll take it. But if it doesn't work as advertised, I'll demand a refund. Lin Mo smirked. But of course. However, I assure you won't be disappointed. As their tour continued, Yu Qingyan found herself drawn to more items than she hadn't anticipated she'd be interested in. A set of mystic glow lanterns for ambience during late-night work sessions. A box of spirit-infused tea leaves that promised to sharpen focus. Even a spatial bag in the shape of a modern luxurious purse that women like her found the aesthetic appearance appealing. Each one of them had been sold by Lin Mo's earthly sales pitches that made even Lu Xiaoyu's group, not far from them, stop to watch. When Lin Mo noticed them looking, he made a sign before winking, making his energetic assistant become more enthusiastic about selling more items for the pavilion master. By the time they returned to the counter, Yu Qingyin's basket was brimming with an assortment of items. By the way, shopkeeper, don't forget to include a box of Thai House spicy noodles and Heavenly Dew soda, she said, setting her basket down with a satisfied smile. Understood. Let me get that for you. He stepped away for a moment to get the boxes from the inventory. Yu Qinyin watched in interest, her mind gradually realizing that she had been duped by Lin Mo to a spending spree. But because of her pride, she couldn't back down anymore. She stood before the counter with her arms crossed as she watched Lin Mo drop the 2 boxes next to her basket. Miss Yu, I admire how you embrace the spirit of strategic indulgence. Let me tally up your total. He began ringing up her purchases, noting the sheer variety. From practical artifacts to indulgent snacks, her choices reflected a mix of utility and personal taste. Eventually, Lu Xiaoyu appeared beside him, who had also finished touring the pavilion master and making her pick up items here and there. Upon peeking at the loaded counter, the energetic assistant couldn't contain her joy. Wow, Miss Yu really went all out today. Lu Xiaoyu whispered excitedly. She might actually hit her 1,000 spirit stone goal. Lin Mo suppressed a chuckle as he finished ringing up the last item. Miss Yu, your total comes to 980 spirit stones. Shall I pack these for you? Yu Qinyin blinked, the weight of her purchases dawning on her as Lin Mo calmly recited the total. She glanced at the neatly packed items on the counter, a mix of practical tools and indulgent luxuries. The faintest hint of hesitation flickered in her eyes, but she quickly masked it with a composed smile. 980 spirit stones, you say? She repeated. It seems I've underestimated the allure of your store, shopkeeper. Lin Mo's professional smile didn't waver. It's a testament to your refined taste, Miss Yu. Every item you've chosen reflects a keen eye for quality and utility. But inwardly, he's already feeling ecstatic. Here she was, the store's first golden loyalty card holder. Yu Qinyin narrowed her eyes slightly, sensing the subtle flattery, but deciding not to challenge it. Instead, she reached into her spatial pouch and produced a sleek, ornate box. With a flick of her wrist, the box opened to reveal neatly stacked high-grade spirit stones. She counted out the amount with practiced ease. Here, 980 spirit stones. Lin Mo accepted the payment with a slight bow, the system's notification confirming the transaction flashing in his peripheral vision. Notice, a customer has reached an accumulated purchase of 1,000 spirit stones. Loyalty card requirement has been met. Issuing of the card is now available to the following customer, Yu Qinyin. Seeing those golden notifications, his professional smile faltered slightly as it revealed his genuine elation. Still, he discreetly swiped them away as he straightened his back and pushed her purchased items to her. Following that, he reached into a drawer beneath the counter, retrieving a small, golden gilded card. Miss Yu, he calmly said, holding the card between his fingers with a flourish. As our most esteemed customer to date, it is my honor to present you with the Divine Convenience Store's first ever loyalty card. Yu Qingyin's eyes widened slightly as she accepted the card. It was beautifully designed with intricate modern patterns that seemed to emanate divine energy. The words Golden Patron were etched elegantly across the top. Huh, a loyalty card. Indeed, Lin Mo said smoothly. This is our store's way of recognizing our most valuable customers. As a Golden Patron, you'll eventually enjoy exclusive benefits, including early access to new products, special discounts, and invitations to store events in the future. It's our way of showing appreciation for your continued support. However, because our store has only just opened for 3 days. It may take a few more days before we can offer some of the benefits I just listed. For now, it's nothing more than a fancy card, identifying you as our most esteemed customer." Yu Qingyan held the card up, inspecting its craftsmanship. The divine energy emanating from it was subtle but undeniable. It wasn't just a token. It carried a sense of prestige. The sting from spending all of those spirit stones was slightly abated. "Well, shopkeeper," she said, her lips curving into a satisfied smile. "You've managed to surprise me yet again. I'll accept this card and look forward to seeing what these benefits entail. Don't disappoint me." Lin Mo bowed slightly, his tone brimming with professionalism. Yet inwardly, he's already thinking of baiting her with more products on her next visits. Apart from that, he's already started listing his potential golden patrons. "I wouldn't dream of it, Miss Yu. Your satisfaction is our priority." As Yu Qingyan took a step back, the pavilion master and Jing'er, who were watching the whole proceedings, stepped up next. The moment Lin Mo met the old woman's eyes, his whole body trembled as extreme chill spread throughout. His elated smile froze as he realized the pavilion master's gaze had shifted from amused curiosity to something far more intense. Her sharp eyes seemed to pierce through him, as if she were dissecting every aspect of his being. "Am I cooked for goading her granddaughter to spend 1,000 spirit stones?" Lin Mo gulped down. Lin Mo watched as the pavilion master's sharp gaze bored into him. Her aged eyes, shining like polished gems, felt like they could see through all his carefully constructed defenses. His customer service smile wavered slightly, replaced by a more genuine, albeit nervous, expression. He barely suppressed the urge to shift uncomfortably under that scrutiny. He felt as if she could see the gears turning in his head. She could see the methods that he used against her granddaughter. This is not good. Her intelligence is on another level. This is probably how those legendary tacticians feel when they step onto the battlefield and see themselves facing an army several times stronger than them. Lin Mo thought as his mind struggled to maintain the calm facade that he had been showing her ever since these group of powerful women of the Verdant Sky Pavilion stepped into his shop. He resisted the urge to reach behind him and grab the nearest item for protection. He had faced an arrogant young master in Yan Wei easily and respectfully maintained his calmness in Yan Chen's presence, but the pavilion master before him was an entirely different beast. Her presence was a subtle blend of wisdom, strength, and a touch of amusement that made him both wary and intrigued. It's like looking into the abyss, and the abyss is smiling back. One wrong move, and the old woman's impression of him would flip. The silence stretched, broken only by the soft hum of the store's magical lighting and the clinking of the sharp heels of the elated Yu Qingyan on the tiled floors of the store. Standing a step behind the pavilion master, the silent beauty, Jing'er had produced a luxurious spatial bag, her stoic expression a perfect complement to her master's commanding presence. "I must admit, your store is one of a kind, shopkeeper, and the way you pitch your wares is more than excellent," the pavilion master finally said, her voice smooth yet heavy. It's as if she's stamping him with her review of the store. She was currently holding the radiant whisper device that Lu Xiaoyu had recently showcased. She wasn't checking its functionality or design. She was simply holding it as if waiting for an answer to a question that she had already been thinking about since she stepped into the place. Most merchants would simply seek profit, but you seem to be cultivating something more than just transactions. Is it influence? Lin Mo blinked, doing his best to maintain his composure. He was convinced. The old woman was extremely sharp. From the way her expression shifted, he couldn't help but think that she already figured out the trick of not labeling the required spirit stone quality from the products correctly. "We aim to provide solutions and opportunities to our esteemed customers, dear customer. Profit is but one consequence of providing value to our community." He knew he was being too vague, but he couldn't reveal anything more. He had to maintain the mystique of the store if he was to survive in this world. Nevertheless, if they asked him about the owner of the store, he'd no doubt point at Tai Hao, who was probably watching from wherever he was. The pavilion master's lips twitched in a subtle smile. Indeed, you seem to have a talent for turning even the most mundane of items into objects of desire. My granddaughter was completely enthralled with your store the moment she stepped foot into it. It's like you know what she needs before she even realizes it. Her eyes then narrowed to a slit, and her words echoed within his mind rather than through hearing. However, shopkeeper, you may have unique wares, but you shouldn't trick your customers into spending more than the fair price of your products. I'm willing to let it slide today, but can you give me your word that you will change it? Lin Mo raised an eyebrow, his eyes flicking towards Yu Qingyan, who was now busy testing the limits of the new heavenly curry burst noodles on her taste buds, as if she was trying to figure out what was so special about it by overanalyzing its flavor. He suppressed a chuckle, glancing back at the pavilion master as he nodded. I understand. I simply offer what I believe is suitable for my customers, dear customer. If that happens to align with their personal preferences, then it's simply a matter of providing convenience to them, as the name of our store suggests. As for the prices, I apologize, but we're not the ones who set it up. I will properly convey your thoughts, however. The pavilion master's smile widened slightly. Her interest was clearly piqued. Is that so? Very well. She then set aside the device and allowed to check out the items that she bought. It came to a total of 240 spirit stones, and she paid for it with high-grade spirit stones as well. After Lin Mo packed and handed the bag containing their purchase to them, the pavilion master gestured to Jinger, who came closer and placed a luxurious spatial bag on top of the counter. He didn't need to check its contents to know that it was filled with more high-grade spirit stones. By the way, shopkeeper, I believe we're not done here yet. Lin Mo pretended to be surprised before putting on his businesslike smile. Oh, how can I help you, dear customer? You mentioned that you're not the one responsible for the price tag of your items. Does that mean you're only an employee here? A hired hand to manage the store? You can say that. Can you call the owner of this establishment? I'm afraid it is impossible. They are busy beings. May I ask what this is about? Lin Mo kept his calm as he endured the scrutiny from the pavilion master's eyes. He understood what she was trying to do here. She's trying to see if she can buy the store from the owner. He's certain that she already heard about the rumors of the divine being that have been cited in this store, but she's trying to confirm it in this way. With a hint of disappointment in her eyes, the pavilion master gestured for Jinger to pick up the spatial bag again. A shame. I brought this today as I initially wanted to buy a few trinkets, but I have been convinced by your store to provide an even greater purpose. This bag contains 10,000 spirit stones. It may not be enough, but it will be a good initial offer. Don't you think so? Can you relay that I, the pavilion master of the Verdant Sky Pavilion, am offering to buy your store in order to continue this great endeavor? Lin Mo's smile faltered as his lips twitched. How should he answer? Should he wait for another system prompt to instruct him on what to do? Or should he start making decisions by himself? He was still a powerless nobody, but considering he was already aware of what kind of answer Tai Hao or anyone from the Divine Pantheon would give, he could turn this around in his favor. It's also a chance for him to build a little bit of a reputation under his name. Lin Mo maintained his smile, though the corners of his lips twitched slightly as he considered the pavilion master's bold offer. 10,000 spirit stones? That was no small sum, even for a sect as influential as the Verdant Sky Pavilion. However, her offer was clearly not about the money. Not entirely, at least. It was all a show of her capabilities while probing the background of the establishment itself. Taking a slow breath to maintain his calm exterior, Lin Mo composed himself before responding. Dear customer, he began with a measured and polite tone, I must first express my deepest gratitude for your generous offer. Truly, it's a testament to the value you see in this humble establishment. However, letting the word hang in the air for me a moment, Lin Mo properly captured both the pavilion master and Jinger's rapt attention. It raised their intrigue as their eyebrows gradually lifted. I must regretfully decline. You see, this store isn't just a business. It's a mission. A purpose bestowed upon me by forces far beyond my station. a divine being. And not just one, but a whole pantheon of them. Please keep that as a secret. I've only revealed it as an answer to your sincere offer. That aside, my role here is not simply to manage it, but to ensure that it fulfills its unique purpose, providing convenience and solutions to all who step through its doors. Yes, just like how we've been doing for you, esteemed customers. The pavilion master's eyes narrowed slightly, though there was a flicker of interest in her expression. What a noble sentiment, shopkeeper, but surely even the grandest missions require resources and backing. The Verdant Sky Pavilion could provide both, ensuring this store reaches heights even you may not have envisioned. Lin Mo chuckled softly, shaking his head. That's a tempting thought, dear customer. But this store was entrusted to me with a particular vision in mind, one that doesn't involve allegiance to any sect or organization. To sell it, even to someone as esteemed as yourself, would be to go against that vision. And I'm certain the forces behind this store wouldn't take kindly to such a decision. He leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice just enough to add a touch of mystery. In truth, this store operates on principles that transcend even the most powerful sections. Its true owner, well, let's just say their interests are far-reaching and deeply rooted in maintaining neutrality. The pavilion master's sharp gaze didn't waver, but there was a subtle shift in her demeanor. Despite knowing that it's impossible for her offer to be accepted, she still wanted to squeeze more information from Lin Molas. The shopkeeper who she thought she could push around after knowing he was merely an employee had stepped up to show his ability to maneuver through words. She leaned back slightly, her lips curving into a faint smile. You're either a very clever merchant or a very loyal steward, shopkeeper. Either way, you've piqued my curiosity even further. Lin Mo spread his hands in a humble gesture. I'm merely fulfilling my duty, dear customer. This store thrives on the trust and satisfaction of its patrons. I couldn't possibly jeopardize that by making a decision that isn't mine to make. However, you're always free to return to our establishment. There will always be something new in our wares every day. The pavilion master studied him for a long moment before finally nodding. Very well, shopkeeper. I'll respect your decision. Temporarily, that is. But should the true owner ever reconsider, do let them know that the Verdant Sky Pavilion would be most interested in supporting this endeavor. A meeting will also be most welcome. Of course, Lin Mo replied smoothly, bowing slightly. Your interest is noted, and I will ensure your sentiments are passed along. With that, the pavilion master gestured for Jing'er to retrieve the spatial bag. Yu Qingyan, who had been quietly observing the exchange, finally spoke up, her tone tinged with amusement. Grandmother, how did you not tell me you're going to make that offer? I haven't told you yet, but even the partnership I offered has been declined by the shopkeeper. The pavilion master chuckled softly, turning to her granddaughter. Indeed, Qingyan, it seems this little store has more layers than it first appears. But you're now their first golden patron. Perhaps our pavilion should use you, our hard-working emissary, to establish a closer relationship instead. What do you think of our young shopkeeper there? Yu Qingyan was stumped. What is this? She's just reminding her grandmother. How did it turn into her getting suggestions to cultivate relations with the shopkeeper? But despite thinking like that, she couldn't help but glance at Lin Mo, who remained behind the counter, his composure unwavering. Little did she know, Lin Mo was also hurling curses in his head. Closer relations? Is she trying to woo her granddaughter to him? Unbelievable. As the pavilion master and her entourage turned to leave, Lin Mo let out a small sigh of relief. His professional smile still firmly in place, but he surely needed to take a break. Just as the door chimed behind them, the pavilion master paused and glanced back over her shoulder. Shopkeeper, she said, her tone lighter now, I'll be watching this establishment with great interest. You may also consider taking a closer look at my granddaughter. Who knows? Karma may have been working to let you meet through her indulgence. Grandmother, Yu Qingyan protested, but she's trying her best not to look flustered in Lin Mo's eyes. On the other hand, Lin Mo pretended not to hear that last part as he gave a slight bow, his voice calm, but with a touch of humor. I wouldn't dream of it, dear customer. After all, the Divine Convenience Store is here to provide for all, even those who wish to buy the whole thing. The pavilion master let out a soft laugh before finally stepping out, the chime of the door marking her departure. As soon as they were gone, Lu Xiaoyu practically skipped over to Lin Mo, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Boss, you did it. You turned down the pavilion master herself, and you made it sound so noble too. I think she might even respect you now. Lin Mo slumped slightly against the counter, rubbing his temples. Let's hope she respects me enough not to send spies or assassins to figure out more about this place. That's the last thing I need. Lu Xiaoyu grinned, leaning closer. But boss, you have to admit, it was kind of cool. You're not just some shopkeeper anymore. You're a mysterious figure with a purpose. The pavilion master said so herself. Besides, what do you think of Miss Yu? Isn't she a nice prospect for you? Lin Mo chuckled weakly, shaking his head. This little lady, are you my mother now? Let's not get carried away, Xiaoyu. I'm still just a mortal trying to survive in a world of cultivators. Now let's restock the shelves. We still have a long day before us. He waved his hand, shooing away his energetic bunny assistant before glancing at the current day's sale, grinning wildly at its sight. Daily tasks. Attract new customers completed. Sell expensive items worth 20 spirit stones and above completed. Repeat customers, March 5th. Current day sales, 1954 spirit stones, mixed grades. Tier progression, emerging store, 2197/10,000. The Azure Gale sect is one of the forces situated in the region next to the vast abyssal forest. They may not be known to be the strongest, but their mastery of speed and agility has earned them respect and caution from rival factions. In particular, their signature skill, the Azure Gale Steps, was said to be the fastest movement technique within the region. Furthermore, their sect patriarch, Yin Tianfeng, is a cultivator at the peak of the nascent soul stage, known for his title as the Gale Sovereign, which he had received from hunting down the High Elders and the cult leader of the Redstone cult, a religious cult part of the evil faction from the neighboring region who dared to sacrifice a mortal city with a population of 5,000 to the evil god they were worshipping. With his rise in reputation, the Azure Gale sect had also become more prestigious, and over the years, it cemented its position within the region. Returning from the Divine Convenience Store, Yin Shun, the sect's High Elder, led the group with an air of calm authority. Behind him, the Azure Gale disciples followed in a loose formation. Their chatter was filled with excitement and awe from the items they had bought from the peculiar store. Young Master Yin Wei, one of the female disciples, piped up, her tone respectful with a hint of curiosity as she watched him stuff his mouth with potato chips. Is the potato chip really that great? You've been eating them unsparingly ever since we left the store. Yin Wei, walking with his head held high, scoffed as he crunched loudly on another chip. Junior Sister Chun, you do not understand. This is not just an ordinary snack. It's a strategic indulgence, a means of sharpening one's focus during demanding training sessions, a proper fuel for greatness. He paused, tilting the bag to peer at its contents as if searching for another way to justify his current act of gluttony. Besides, the salty and savory flavors of these chips are unlike anything I have ever tasted. It is as if they have been created from the mountains itself. Junior Sister Chen exchanged a glance with a fellow disciple, a mix of amusement and skepticism flickering in their eyes. Yin Wei might have been known for his arrogance, but towards those he considered his junior from the sect, he was quite easy to talk to. That's why he still had many followers. If you say so, young Master Yin Wei, are they truly that effective, or are they simply another way for you to show off that even your snacks are the best? Yin Wei scowled, his hand instinctively moving toward the heavens barrier cap perched on his head. It was a subtle gesture that seemed to emphasize how important those items were to him. It is not about showing off, junior sister. I am simply enjoying the fruits of our sect's wealth. Something a poor sect, such as the Crimson Veil, wouldn't understand. A few chuckles rippled through their ranks, but Yin Chun, walking ahead of them, remained silent. The High Elder's gaze was fixed on the path, his expression unreadable. He could still feel the lingering traces of the aura of harmony washing over him, and deep inside, he couldn't help but wonder if the pavilion master would also experience the same thing as him. He couldn't even start to think of taking over the shop. From his own calculation, it would be impossible. As for those who might harbor those thoughts despite experiencing the aura of harmony and the uniqueness of the store's products, they would be reckless fools who couldn't recognize a place protected by a higher being. After a while, he finally spoke, silencing the rowdy disciples. Enough, Yin-Wei. We are not here to discuss snacks or trade petty insults. You were made a fool of by both Zhou Rue and the shopkeeper. You have to learn to be more respectful in dealings like these, even with mere mortals. Yin-Wei's face flushed red, but he immediately bowed his head, his tone now more subdued. Understood, second uncle. I apologize for my exuberance, but I stand by what I said. Regardless of the shopkeeper's goading, the items he sold me are worth every spirit stone. Yin Chun let out a long sigh, his hand reaching for his chin as he understood what Yin-Wei meant. The product may be expensive, but they are as advertised. There wasn't any falsehood from it. Now what he needed to do next was to verify the blossoming lotus breathing technique that he purchased. Tell me, Yin-Wei, what do you think of the shopkeeper himself? Yin Chun asked. Yin-Wei paused, his chewing momentarily forgotten. It is certainly peculiar, second uncle. He's like most of our servants. However, he carries himself with a strange confidence. And that smile, it's like he already knows how to manipulate people into doing what he wants. He recalled how easily he had been duped into buying more items than he had intended. The shopkeeper's smooth words and professional demeanor masking a shrewd business acumen that seemed out of place in a backwater town. He wasn't offended, though, but he made a mental note not to fall for his tricks again. The more than 100 spirit stones he used to purchase his items would earn him an earful from his father. He might not be considered a wasteful young master, but everyone knows that he's a show-off. And today, he exceeded his own spending record that he had tried to maintain for the last few months. At the very least, he had incredible items to show for it. Unlike his old record where he spent 50 high-grade spirit stones partying with the other young masters of prominent sects in a luxurious brothel. Yin Chen's lips twitched in amusement. Indeed, it is indeed a strange experience to be had with his store. But you should not feel ashamed. Even I felt like I was being evaluated. The young master looked up, his eyes wide with surprise. You too, second uncle. Indeed, that shopkeeper, despite his humble appearance, is a force to be reckoned with. He has a way of making you feel both comfortable and wary at the same time. We should keep a close eye on him in the future and make contact with him again. His tone was thoughtful, but his words carried an underlying warning. The Divine Convenience Store was more than just a place to buy strange goods. It was a nexus of potential power, and he was determined to understand it better. Yin Chin shook his head, his gaze shifting to the clear sky. No need to rush things, Yin-Wei. For now, we will focus on understanding the items that I purchased and your own new snack. And as for that disciple of the Crimson Veil sect, that battle with him, if it were to happen at all, will be in a venue far more suitable than the entrance of a divine establishment. Understood, second uncle. Yin-Wei bowed his head. As they continued their journey back to the Azure Gale sect, the usual chatter continued, and soon enough, they started comparing the items they bought again as laughter echoed merrily. Eventually, they successfully returned to the Azure Gale sect. Yin-Wei and the other disciples returned to their respective training areas, the lively chatter gradually fading as they dispersed. Yin Chun, however, continued towards the sect's main hall. He had a clear destination in mind, the Patriarch's office. Yin Chun passed by numerous training areas where disciples were honing their skills, their movements as fluid as the wind itself. He barely noticed them. His thoughts were solely focused on his recent experience at the Divine Convenience Store and his conversation with its enigmatic shopkeeper. The Azure Gale sect was renowned for its mastery of speed and agility, and the sect's training grounds reflected this. The area was a vast expanse of meticulously maintained open areas, dotted with obstacle courses and targets designed to test the disciples' reflexes and precision. The air was alive with the sound of whistling wind and the rhythmic thud of feet as the disciples honed their skills. It was a reminder of their sect's core principles: speed, agility, and precision. Yin Chun reached the main hall, a grand structure built from a smooth, polished azure stone. The interior was as spacious and meticulously designed as the training grounds, its high ceilings adorned with carvings depicting windswept landscapes and soaring falcons, symbolic of the sect's ideals. The sect master, Yin Tianfeng, was seated at the head of the hall. His posture was as straight as a bamboo stalk, his eyes closed in meditation, as if not bothered by anyone who would interrupt him. As if sensing his presence, the sect master opened his eyes and gestured for Yin Chun to approach. Yin Chun, you have returned. I apologize for asking you to make a trip for my foolish son. So what do you think of this rumored store? Yin Tianfeng's voice was calm and measured, carrying an undercurrent of authority that made the air in the hall feel heavy. It was as if he already knew all that had transpired in the city. Yin Chun bowed respectfully. Sect Master, I must admit the journey yielded unexpected results. Upon saying that, Yin Chun produced the blossoming lotus breathing technique and presented it to him. Yin Tianfeng's sharp gaze narrowed as he accepted the manual. He inspected it with an intensity that made Yin Chun stand a little straighter. The sect master's fingers brushed over the cover, his expression unreadable as his mind was already analyzing the spiritual energy emanating from the seemingly new book. The blossoming lotus breathing technique. Yin Tianfeng muttered in awe and slight apprehension. This technique was thought to be lost for centuries. It had been said that the disciples of the Lotus Immortal Hall were wiped out in the aftermath of the Great War, and their secret technique had been buried with them. He opened the manual, flipping through its pages with a slight urgency, as if he couldn't wait to confirm its contents. His brow furrowed slightly as he scanned the descriptions of the meridians and the intricate instructions for guiding spiritual energy. Where did you acquire this? Is it authentic? He asked as his eyes finally met with Yin Chen's. Reporting to Sect Master, it's from the Divine Convenience Store, the rumored establishment. Yin Chen respectfully answered. It's the same place where little Yin Wei bought the item he brought yesterday. When I arrived there, I had to handle the commotion he was starting with the disciples of the Crimson Veil sect. Yin Tianfeng's lips twitched in a rare show of amusement. Indeed, my son needs to learn the meaning of patience and discretion in due time. I'm certain of that. But tell me, Yin Chun, if this manual came from that store, what do you think about the force behind it? Yin Chun answered with a grave expression. It is impossible to gauge, Sect Master. The store seems to operate under rules that we don't know. The items are of high quality, even those that are as mundane as a set of hairbrushes or a small mirror. And the shopkeeper carries himself with an air of confidence that doesn't belong to an ordinary mortal. He's not even afraid to maintain eye contact with me. Yin Tianfeng's gaze lingered on the manual in his hand. Interesting. A mortal has been charged to man that mysterious store? Impossible. Something's not adding up. Anyhow, what about its patrons? Have you seen any influential figures? Yes. We've run into the pavilion master of the Verdant Sky Pavilion on our way out, Sect Master. Her granddaughter, Yu Qingyan, seemed to be the one who convinced her to come and check it out. Yin Tianfeng's eyes widened slightly. The pavilion master, a figure of immense power and influence, rarely visited places that weren't directly related to diplomacy or trade. Her presence in the Divine Convenience Store was a significant development. The pavilion master herself? This place must be something else entirely. It seems I have underestimated the influence that this little shop was about to possess. If a divine being is truly the one behind that store, we might have to choose whether to antagonize or patronize it. He closed the manual and set it down on his desk, his gaze drifting towards the panoramic view outside. The Azure Gale sect, a bastion of strength and order, was clearly not immune to the changes sweeping the region, and a seemingly innocuous establishment, such as the Divine Convenience Store, was also a sign that more changes were about to happen in this ever-evolving world. The so-called divine beings are different from normal cultivators. Their origin may not be unknown, but cultivators and mortals alike are vastly different from them. They wielded divine energy, which most cultivators believe to be a higher type of energy than the nine heavens' spiritual energy. No one knew how they were born except the divine beings themselves, but one thing they could agree on was that they cannot stay within the realm for too long. At most, they'll be spotted at a certain place, but they'll disappear soon after. That's why most of the recorded divine beings have been known to be the subject of worship for mortals and cultivators. For example, the Supreme Sun Church that dominated the Western continent worshipped a divine being only known by the name Solaris, the Supreme Sun God. Yin Shun, tell me in detail everything that happened within the store and your thoughts on how we should proceed. Understood, Sect Master. But do you want me to take the same actions as the Verdant Sky Pavilion and try to gain control over that store? In all honesty, I can't think of a way for our organization to do that. It's like it's a fortress or a place that they will never control. Yin Shin replied, his eyes reflecting his own internal questions about the store. Indeed, the Verdant Sky Pavilion may be powerful and have a bottomless purse, but they cannot simply buy that store. Yin Tianfeng scoffed, his voice as calm as ever, but his aura made the room tremble as he said it. You can't simply buy something that isn't for sale. Instead, we have to focus on understanding it and its potential benefits. If it is as you described, we have to find a way to cooperate with them and not challenge their existence. We cannot afford to offend any higher powers that could threaten our sect. Also, Yin Tianfeng said as he looked back at the manual, his fingers tracing the cover again. I want you to test the authenticity of this manual. The blossoming lotus breathing technique might be old, but its unique effect in balancing the body and the spirit is one of a kind. Good job on purchasing it. Yin Shun bowed deeply. Understood, Sect Master. I shall see to it personally. Shall I include Little Yin Wei? Yes, but ensure that it won't cause a backlash when swapping out his breathing technique. Let this be a lesson to him. Yin Tianfeng broke a smile as he thought about his unruly son. Back at the Divine Convenience Store, the next few hours passed uneventfully. A few curious passers-by wandered in, their expressions ranging from wide-eyed wonder to skeptical curiosity. Most were mortals who lacked spirit stones, leaving empty-handed but not before marveling at the store's peculiar wares. Lin Mo leaned against the counter, absent-mindedly flipping through the beginner's guide to cultivation Lu Xiaoyu had convinced him to study. He wasn't making much progress, though, as his comprehension seemed to still be lacking, but he's getting there. He knew that after passing this hurdle, it'd be smooth sailing for him afterward. He glanced at the system panel hovering in his peripheral vision, the tally of the day's sales glowing brightly. Daily tasks. Attract new customers completed. Sell expensive items worth 20 spirit stones and above completed. Repeat customers, March 5th. Current day sales, 1972 spirit stones, mixed grades. Tier progression. Emerging store, 215/10,000. Lu Xiaoyu bounded over, her energy seemingly endless despite the long day. Boss, are you still having trouble? Do you want me to assist you in guiding the spiritual energy to your Dantian? Lin Mo lowered the cultivation manual with a sigh, the words seeming to swim before his eyes. This is like trying to understand quantum physics by reading a children's picture book. The idea is clearly laid out, but applying it, it's like trying to catch smoke with a fishing net. Is it possible to assist me? Won't it feel like cheating? It is cheating, yes, and it will be detrimental to your future progress. But hey, better than turning your brain into soup trying to understand the principle all day, right? Lin M.O. chuckled, shaking his head as he placed the manual on the counter. You know, for someone who claims to be a cultivation prodigy, you're awfully eager to see me skip all the basic steps. Hey, I'm just trying to be helpful, boss. Besides, it would be hilarious to see you suddenly sprouting wings or summoning a spirit beast after just a day of meditation. Think of all the new customers that would attract. All right, that's a reach. Maybe I should meditate on a corner and let you handle the counter. Oh, you're right, boss. You have to empty your mind. No wonder you can't guide the spiritual energy to your dantian. It keeps slipping out of your grasp because you're distracted. Lin M.O. gestured toward the door to their quarters. All right, oh wise cultivation prodigy. You've convinced me. I'll go and attempt this emptying of the mind in private. Meanwhile, you have free reign of the store. Don't sell our products cheap, even if they plead. I'll be back soon. Lu Xiaoyu clapped her hands together while sporting a wide grin. You got it, boss. I'll hold down the fort and deal with any power-hungry factions showing up while you are trying to achieve enlightenment. Shaking his head, Lin M.O. chuckled as he entered their quarters. The soft hum of the aura of harmony gradually faded behind him. He sat on his bed and crossed his legs before taking a deep breath. He closed his eyes, attempting to clear his thoughts as Lu Xiaoyu had suggested. Empty my mind, he thought, trying to visualize a blank canvas. No fortes, no vohis, no heavenly dew soda cravings. Immediately, images of the peach blossom sparkle soda bottle that the pavilion master had bought flashed through his mind. The vibrant pink color, the sweet aroma, and the satisfying fizz. It was all too enticing, and he still hadn't gotten a chance to try that particular flavor. He let out a frustrated sigh and shook his head to clear those images. All right, I have to taste that new flavor later. Let me focus on the nothingness. The void. Once again, he tried to think of something mundane and boring, but his mind couldn't remain empty. Before long, his thoughts drifted to his personal balance that had increased significantly from the morning rush of Crimson Veil and Azure Gale sect disciples. And it didn't stop at that. It then drifted toward the system again and a not-so-long journey to reach the next tier. A whole 10,000 spirit stones, and they already filled a fifth of it. It won't be long before they reach that. As for the daily tasks, their difficulties were also scaling along with their progress. Ugh, damn it. No numbers. No system. Just emptiness, he tried again, picturing a vast expanse of nothingness. He shifted uncomfortably, his thoughts continuing to race like a flock of startled birds. He tried to push the thoughts away, focusing all his energy on a single point within his body, his dantian. And finally, he achieved it. With his eyes closed shut, he sensed the spiritual energy around him. Picturing an image as though he was grabbing it by hand, the spiritual energy began to be pulled towards him. The sliver of spiritual energy flowed through his open energy channel and continued towards his dantian located at his navel. He felt a warm, comforting sensation that resonated deep within him as the first drop of spiritual energy settled within. It felt like a long-forgotten memory coming back. Or maybe it's just what spiritual resonance feels like. Before long, a soft chime echoed in his mind, and somehow, the divine system also came up to track his progress in cultivation. Cultivation progress, spirit gathering stage, first level. Celestial providence activated, perfect spiritual resonance. Lin Mo's eyes snapped open. A surge of energy coursed through his veins. He could feel the change within him, especially when his celestial providence activated. He felt extreme lightness as his sense of connection to the world around him suddenly bloomed like a sunflower baited by sunlight. Perfect spiritual resonance. He glanced at his hands, flexing his fingers experimentally. There was no visible change. He didn't suddenly sprout wings or start blasting fire from his fingertips. But there was something else. It was as if he could sense the subtle flow of energy within the room, an invisible current that permeated every object and being around him. He focused again, this time with more control. Almost instantly, he could feel that the spiritual energy from his surroundings was easily responding to his command. It was just there, waiting. He finally understood what Lu Xiaoyu meant by guiding the river. It wasn't about forcing it. It was all about gently moving it towards where you wanted to flow. And now, he could pull them even without concentrating with an empty mind. The droplets of spiritual energy gradually filled his dantian, and it didn't take long before it overflowed. Cultivation progress, spirit gathering stage, second level. What the hell? Lin and Mo couldn't help but exclaim as his dantian expanded after breaking through. And despite that, more droplets of spiritual energy passively flow inside. Is this the effect of perfect spiritual resonance? I can now passively cultivate? No, I still needed a proper breathing technique. He then pushed himself to stand, and sure enough, the flow stopped. He moved with a newfound ease, his steps lighter, almost floating. He focused on his dantian and could feel the stored energy resonating within him. It was subtle, but he was now confident that he could control it. He was now officially a cultivator. He let out a soft chuckle as his expression became a mixture of relief, satisfaction, and excitement. He owes his energetic assistant for this one. Just as he began to fully revel in his achievement, the door to the shopkeeper's quarters burst open with a loud bang, nearly ripping the hinges from the frame. "Boss, you have to come quick. We have another big-shot customer." Lu Xiaoyu's frantic voice echoed through the room as she rushed in. Lin M.O. blinked, still half-dazed from the rush of his cultivation breakthrough. Another big shot? Who is it this time? Don't tell me it's the Crimson Veil sect's patriarch or something. Lu Xiaoyu grabbed his arm, practically dragging him toward the door. No, but he's at the same level as them. Lin M.O. stumbled slightly as Lu Xiaoyu dragged him toward the counter just outside the door to their quarters. Her urgency left no room for questions. Naturally, his mind raced as he tried to process her words. A big shot? Disguised? At the same level as a sect patriarch? It's not like he hadn't dealt with someone at the same level before. It's not even a few hours since the pavilion master left. "Xiaoyu, calm down," Lin Mo said, attempting to steady her as they reached the counter. "Who is it? And why are you so sure he's a big deal?" He could see the said customer, roaming around the store, browsing each shelf with keen interest. From his appearance, his disguise was really poorly done. While he didn't like an aged-old man, his sharp and fiery features were evidently screaming expert. Only a fool would not think of that. Lu Xiaoyu leaned closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Boss, it's the sect master of the White Ember sect. I'm certain of it. Even in disguise, his aura is too distinct to mistake. He's trying to mask it, but I can feel the subtle pressure. It's like standing near a volcano that hasn't erupted yet." Lin M.O. tilted his head. "The White Ember sect? The one where our first customer hailed?" "Yes, that one," Lu Xiaoyu exclaimed, hearing her confirm that as though she was truly confident with the customer's identity. The same question from earlier popped up in his head. How can his assistant recognize these supposedly illustrious figures of each sect? It's like she had received an education about them during her childhood, making her remember the head of each notable force within the region. Lin M.O. could only think of one possibility for that. She was either a princess of some kingdom or she belonged to another similarly large force. Although he was curious earlier from seeing the pavilion master's reaction upon seeing her, he failed to ask about it because of what happened. Xiaoyu, I am wondering, are you actually a prodigy from a huge sect or a reclusive family? Your knowledge is unreasonably vast for someone so young. You recognize sect masters, cultivation techniques, and you can even assist me with my own cultivation. Care to explain? Lu Xiaoyu froze mid-step, her ears twitching slightly as her face turned an amusing shade of pink. She looked away, suddenly very interested in the shelf stocked with spirit-infused potato chips. What? Me? A prodigy? Don't be ridiculous, boss. I'm just a humble assistant sent here to help you run the store. Lin and Mo crossed his arms, raising an eyebrow. Humble assistants don't typically recognize disguised sect masters at a glance, or teach cultivation techniques, or react like this when asked a simple question. She flailed her arms in exaggerated protest. Boss, you're overthinking it. I just have a knack for recognizing people, okay? It's a talent, not a secret identity or anything. Yeah, right? If she's this defensive, she's just making it very obvious, he thought. Before Lin and Mo could press further, the disguised customer approached the counter, his sharp eyes seemingly focused on Lin and Mo as he placed a small basket filled with items on the counter. Although not that noticeable, Lin and Mo picked up the surprise that momentarily passed in the customer's eyes. And clearly, it's the surprise of seeing something unexpected. At first, he thought it was about Xiaoyu again, but the customer before him had his gaze locked on him. Watching him approach, Lin and Mo found his movements to be fleeting, each step exuding an understated confidence that matched Lu Xiaoyu's earlier assessment. Shopkeeper, the man said, his voice carrying a subtle weight as he looked around him. I've heard rumors of this store's uniqueness. I must say they don't do it justice. Hearing that, Lin and Mo snapped back into his professional demeanor, his customer service smile sliding effortlessly into place. Welcome, esteemed customer. We aim to exceed expectations. I trust you found everything to your satisfaction. The man nodded slightly as he put down his basket filled with an assortment of products. For now, yes. However, I cannot help but be curious. How does a store like this come to be? Your wares are extremely unique. Most seem to have been influenced by another culture. It's unlike anything found in this region. Lin and Mo chuckled lightly, ringing up the items with practiced ease. We strive to provide convenience and solutions, dear customer. What you've seen as unique may not be so in the future. As for its influence, I must say you're half right on that one. Unfortunately, the specifics about our store are a trade secret. The man's lips quivered in a faint smile, though his eyes remained sharp. A fair answer. And this establishment, does it intend to remain neutral in the affairs of the sects and factions in this region? As he was already expecting someone of his stature to probe him like that, Lin Mo's smile didn't waver. Neutrality is one of our core principles. The Divine Convenience Store welcomes all customers, regardless of their affiliations. Our goal is to provide value and convenience, not to take sides. As long as you have spirit stones to buy our products, you're always welcome as our dear customer. A wise stance, one that will likely serve you well, if you can maintain it. That last part sounded like a warning, but also a reminder. Despite his sharp and fiery appearance, this customer was quite gentle. Or maybe it was because of the aura of harmony. Impossible, since Yin Shun and even the pavilion master had taken notice of it. Lin and Mo paid it no heed as he bowed slightly. We intend to. As Lin and Mo finished packing the man's items, Lu Xiaoyu leaned in slightly, her tone suddenly sweet and cheerful. Esteemed customer, if I may ask, how did you hear about our store? Was it from one of our previous visitors? The man's smile deepened, clearly not intending to take off his mask. Word travels quickly among those who pay attention, and this store has already made an impression on certain influential individuals. Not wanting to push it any longer, Lu Xiaoyu beamed, clapping her hands together. That's wonderful to hear. We hope to continue impressing all our customers. Lin and Mo handed the packed bag to the man, who accepted it with a nod. Thank you for your business, esteemed customer. If there's anything else you need, don't hesitate to return. The man paused, his gaze lingering on Lin and Mo for a moment longer. I'll keep that in mind. Until next time, shopkeeper. After thinking for a moment, Lin and Mo finally understood why he couldn't help but inspect his body. His cultivation. If Shwebiu reported to his sect master about this mystical store, he would also point out the mortal shopkeeper. And yet, here he was now a cultivator. With that, he turned and strode toward the exit, his presence still commanding even in his unassuming disguise. As the door chimed shut behind him, Lin Mo let out a long breath, his shoulders relaxing slightly. Well, that was one troublesome customer down. Should we expect more sect masters to arrive? Behind him, Lu Xiaoyu excitedly placed her hands on his shoulders, squeezing them as though she was giving him a message. Great job, boss. And also, congratulations. You finally did it, and you even exceeded expectations. Second level right from the start. The wind whipped past Su Mei's face, stinging her cheeks with icy rain as she leaped across a jagged ravine as she led the way. The terrain of the Red Ice Peaks was unforgiving. It was a maze of treacherous cliffs and wind-scoured gullies. It was a place where the unwary could easily fall to their deaths. The usual training grounds at the Crimson Vale sect were nothing like this. Below her, she could hear the chasm echoing with the rush of a swollen river. The dark waters churned with unseen currents. She clutched her robes tighter, the crimson fabric offering little comfort against the biting chill. Beside her, her fellow disciples moved cautiously but confidently. Their movements seemed like a blur of red against the gray landscape. After her return from Famling City's peculiar store following her senior brother Zhou Rue, she took up what was supposed to be an easy section mission along with other disciples of similar cultivation stages. They were to retrieve a stolen artifact from a group of rogue cultivators known as the Shadow Hand Bandits. The bandits had been plaguing the nearby villages, their attacks becoming increasingly brazen, and they hit a village that was under their protection, stealing the said artifact. Because of that, a mission was created to retrieve it and perhaps put an end to their reign of terror. As they finally reached the bandits' hideout, a cave hidden behind a waterfall, the other disciples took a moment to prepare themselves for what was about to come. Su Mei's hand instinctively went to the spatial pouch at her waist, her fingers grazing against the small, rectangular case inside. The spirit tress comb, a seemingly frivolous purchase from the divine convenience store that now felt like a lifeline for her. It's just a comb. How can a comb help in situations like this? She mused before remembering Lin Mo's words. The spirit tress comb was not merely a comb. It was a spirit-grade artifact, capable of enhancing hair growth and luster while repairing even the most damaged strands. That's all she wanted to use for. However, what if it could be used for something else? If it could enhance hair growth, why couldn't it enhance the speed of her movements? Junior sister Mei shook her head, dismissing those thoughts for later. The time for internal monologues will be after their task is completed. Or so, she decided. The plan was simple: storm the cave, subdue the bandits, and recover the artifact. But as they entered the hideout, the group of disciples realized that Shadow Hand Bandits had anticipated their arrival. As they passed the waterfall, they found the cave was lit with torches along the way, their flickering flames casting long shadows that made it feel like they were being invited to their funerals. And sure enough, the bandits, clad in dark leather and wielding an assortment of crude weapons, were already positioned strategically, ready to defend their territory. A fierce battle instantly erupted as the clash of steel echoed through the cave. The Crimson Veil disciples, with their superior training and discipline along with their ruthless demeanor, quickly gained the upper hand. They were meticulous and seemingly ready to stain their already crimson-red robes with more blood. But the bandits, desperate for survival, fought with a ferocity that made the task a lot more difficult than anticipated. Su Mei found herself facing a particularly agile bandit who wielded a pair of wickedly sharp daggers. She dodged his attacks, her reflexes honed by years of training, but his movements were faster than most thugs she had faced before. She stumbled back, her foot catching on a loose stone. As she lost her balance, she felt her pouch bump against her side. Once again, she was reminded of the comb and that peculiar wording that she vaguely remembered during the sales pitch of that young shopkeeper. Enhance hair growth and luster. Repair even the most damaged strands. If it can repair hair, could it also repair my speed? A desperate idea bloomed in her mind. She had nothing to lose at this point. Making a decision in a split second, she pulled out the spirit tress comb, her fingers closing around its smooth handle. Instead of combing her hair, she ran the comb against her legs, brushing against her skin as though trying to stimulate its effect. To her surprise, she began to feel a faint tingle in her legs as her spiritual energy activated the artifact, a surge of warmth that seemed to spread through her legs. She shifted her weight and felt the subtle but undeniable difference in her muscles. She felt lighter, faster, more agile. "It works," Sume cheerfully exclaimed. Her seemingly foolish idea saved her from being skewered by her opponent. Regaining her balance, she leaped higher, dodged quicker, and finally, with a well-timed thrust of her sword, she disarmed the bandit, piercing through his arm and shoulder. She felt like a completely different person. The other disciples who'd seen what she did copied her, at least those who also bought the same comb as her. And because of that, the other bandits began to falter, and the Crimson Veil disciples soon subdued them. With only a few left alive, Sume had them dig through their treasury, retrieving the artifact and also bagging the accumulated wealth of the bandit group. Most of them happily counted the spirit stones as they wondered about what else they could buy at the Divine Convenience Store tomorrow. As they started to trek back to their sect, she glanced at the spirit tress comb again, her fingers tracing the smooth, cool surface. However, her face soon fell when she noticed the crack on its surface. "And no, it's cracked. Is it because I used it for something other than my hair?" Sume cried out, and just like her, the other female disciples with the same comb wailed upon checking. The other disciples laughed, telling them to just buy a new one. But when they heard its original price, they felt like they got punched in the gut. This is a reminder. We should use the products bought from that store as advertised. A talisman would be cheaper to use. Back at the Divine Convenience Store, the last rays of the setting sun cast long shadows across the interior, painting the shelves in hues of orange and purple. Lu Xiaoyu was humming a lively tune as she restocked the shelf of the spirit tress combs. They were a hit for the female disciples, and even she was tempted to buy one, but with a lack of funds in her personal balance, she's holding off on it. "Boss, we're almost out of the spirit tress combs already. Should I put up a limited stock sign to make the next batch look even more valuable?" Lin Mo sighed, placing the shopkeeping 101 book down on the counter. "Xiaoyu, we're not running a shady auction house. If we're low on stock, we restock. No need for marketing gimmicks." Lu Xiaoyu pouted, crossing her arms. "Boss, it's not a gimmick. It's called strategic scarcity. Makes people want it more. Trust me, it works." Lin Mo chuckled, shaking his head. "We're already selling combs that enhance hair. I think the allure is strong enough without any extra theatrics. Are you thinking of raising our prices? Where's the convenience in that?" Although it was tempting for him, he couldn't just haphazardly do some sales gimmick. There's the loyalty card feature for that. They could give their patrons a discount. Still, Xiaoyu's idea was worth exploring if he wanted to stop fully relying on the store's suggested prices. "Oh, I understand, boss. We should not focus on only one item to promote convenience. Let me check all of our Xing Xing product lines." Upon saying that, the bunny-like assistant hopped back to the shelf filled with beauty products. Lin Mo leaned back on his chair, watching Lu Xiaoyu buzz around like a whirlwind of inexhaustible energy. Her enthusiasm was both exhausting and infectious. He couldn't help but chuckle at her endless antics. At least, she's really doing her job well, much more than Lin Mo, who was mostly at the counter. With everything that happened during the day, the Divine Convenience Store had seen yet another eventful day. And while Lin Mo was physically tired, He felt a deep sense of satisfaction. His cultivation breakthrough, the series of prominent customers, and the steady stream of sales. Those were signs that the store was gaining traction in this strange world. He also began to dabble in more than just being a normal store manager. Once again, while waiting for the next customer to arrive, he checked the current day's progress. Daily tasks. Attract new customers. October 10th completed. Sell expensive items worth 20 spirit stones and above. May 5th completed. Repeat customers. March 5th. Total sales, 2,232 spirit stones. Mixed grades. Tier progression emerging store, 2, for 78/10,000. Loyalty card issued, 1. Lin Mo's lips curled into a small, satisfied smile. The numbers were growing steadily, and so was the store's reputation. As he dismissed the interface, Lu Xiaoyu bounded back to the counter, her arms loaded with product from the beauty aisle. Boss, I've got it. A special display for our beauty line. Xing Xing Glimmer products. We can feature the comb, the gloss, and the sparkling moonlight powder as a set. It'll be the ultimate section for self-care loving cultivators. Lin Mo raised an eyebrow, amused. Self-care loving cultivators? Is that even a niche? But go ahead. It'll be a hit for female cultivators like you. Lu Xiaoyu nodded enthusiastically. You'd be surprised, boss. All the sect disciples who come in here, especially the ladies, can't resist looking at themselves in the mirrors. Why not give them the tools to look even better? All right. Lin Mo relented, waving his hand. Set it up, but no gimmicks about limited stock unless we actually run out. Lu Xiaoyu saluted with a mischievous grin. Aye, boss. Time continued to pass. As the final customers of the day trickled out, the store grew quieter. There weren't any big-shot customers that stepped in anymore, but at the very least, a few repeat customers from the other days visited again, which cleared the last of the daily tasks. Repeat customers. May 5th completed. Other than that, Lin Mo's celestial providence continued to be triggered occasionally, blessing his customers with heaven's favors luck. Reading through those logs was quite amusing despite feeling the sting of leaking his luck to other people. Even Xiaoyu was starting to get envious, saying why couldn't his luck leak to her. Lin Mo simply teased her about that, claiming that since she was already a prodigy, she already emptied his luck from her birth. Her reaction? She jumped at Lin Mo and started clawing at him like a furious cat. As the moon rose high in the night sky, casting its pale glow over Fanling City, the divine convenience store finally quieted. The closing time soon approached. Lin Mo leaned against the counter as he watched Lu Xiaoyu bustling about, adjusting the newly arranged Xing Xing Glimmer Products display with the precision of a perfectionist. He couldn't help but praise her in his head, as she clearly had a knack on being a store promodizer. She's quite great at arranging them to be really enticing. Boss, look at this, she chirped, stepping back to admire her work. The display sparkled under the store's ambient lighting. A mix of the spirit tress comb, sparkling moonlight powder, and the radiant glow lip gloss. All in all, the set would cost 100 spirit stones. If he applied the real quality needed for it, it would be 100 intermediate grade spirit stones. Isn't it just perfect? It's like it's calling out to all the self-care enthusiasts out there. I'll buy one myself after I get enough of my balance. It's definitely eye-catching. If this doesn't attract attention tomorrow, I don't know what will. Lu Xiaoyu beamed, clearly proud of her handiwork. I bet we'll sell out by midday. Sure. If it does sell out before midday, I'll buy you one of the items there. What do you think? Seriously, boss? I love you. You're the best. I'll protect you from thugs from now on. Isn't that your job? Don't sweat the details. The dim lighting inside softened the atmosphere, and the faint hum of the store's mystical mechanisms filled the air. Lin Mo stood by the entrance, staring out at the now empty street. The city of Fanling lay bathed in the warm glow of lanterns, its bustling energy having quieted into a gentle whisper. The day's events played back in his mind. Yin Chen's stoic analysis, Yu Qingyin's indulgent spree, the pavilion master's piercing gaze as she offered 10,000 high-grade spirit stones, and the visit of the White Ember Sect's disguised sect master. Each encounter had brought something new, something challenging, but also something valuable. "I'm getting used to this," Lin Mo muttered to himself, a faint smile tugging at his lips. He turned the signage at the front door to closed. The third day finally ended. The door chime jingled softly near the counter, and he turned to see Lu Xiaoyu carrying a small tray with 2 steaming bowls of noodles. She placed them on the counter with a flourish. "Dinner time, boss. Spicy Taihao noodles, rice cakes, and soup dumplings, the chef special. By chef, I mean me." She grinned, hopping onto the stool beside him. Lin Mo took the offered bowl, the rich aroma wafting up to meet him. "You mean you used the machine? But thanks, Xiaoyu. I needed this." They ate in comfortable silence, the spicy broth warming them against the cool evening air. The soup dumplings and rice cakes complement each other. "Boss, do you think tomorrow Taihao or Lihua will arrive today? Will they evaluate us again?" Lin Mo chuckled, shaking his head. "Maybe, maybe not, but we'll have to wait, right? But tomorrow will surely be busy. At this rate, we'll have an emperor or some ancient hermit knocking on our door by the end of the week." "Hey, don't jinx it. What if they really show up?" Lu Xiaoyu protested, slurping her noodles noisily. Lin Mo smirked, leaning back. "If they do, we'll sell them our products like everyone else. No exceptions." They both laughed, the tension of the day melting away as the night settled over the divine convenience store. System notice. Day 3 complete. Evaluation pending. Day 3 evaluation. Outstanding. Sales summary. 102 transactions. Revenue. 2,286 spirit stones. Rewards. Plus 10 spirit stones to personal balance for both shopkeeper and assistant. Tier progression. Emerging store. 2532/10,000. "Boss, there it is," Lu Xiaoyu exclaimed as she pointed at the system panels that popped up around them. Lin Mo lifted his head and looked around them only to see nothing. "I guess not today," he said as he took a look at his new balance. Personal balance. 98 spirit stones. Not bad, he thought, and then he glanced at his assistant who was already jumping in joy. Boss, look at this. I now have 45 spirit stones. What should I buy with this?" "You better think carefully about what you want to spend on. I believe there's a reason Taihao is giving us wages like this." He started after gulping down another soup dumplings. "Look, we have free meals and accommodations. What do we lack? Oh, cultivation resources? That and other things, of course. Just don't spend that wastefully like Yu Qingyuan. We're not as rich as her." "Got it, boss." With her excitement dimming, she sat back down and resumed chowing down their food. On the other, Lin Mo couldn't help but observe the store. He also had to apply his advice to himself, so he started ranking his needs at the moment. And the first thing that came to his mind was breeding technique. Please like, share, and subscribe to the videos of Dimensional Diary. It will be a great motivation for me to make more videos like this. If you have any recommendations, feel free to express them in the comments section.